box, Lori left a list that, for appointed officers, their terms have expired and, they're up for appointment,
And there's also 2 letters
and we have 2 letters.
of interest.
Last year, did we come to a meeting and say, anybody interested in these open positions, please give us a letter, or would we appoint them tonight?
Your norm is to just appoint anyone tonight, and if they're not interested, to let us know. I think 1 year you had me send out letters asking if people were interested, but I think that's 1 out of the,
And I think too, we put it in minutes before and not many people have come forward at all.
we've had it in the minutes since we started the, when we put the warning in the back, anyone interested should.
Look at the expired positions and let us know.
And I just have these 2 letters.
Okay.
The ones that expired have not said they want to do it, or?
Well, they haven't said they don't want to do it. I haven't-
Okay.
There's a letter from a couple of them,
Yes, we had a letter from Sheila,
and one letter of interest.
a letter from Nancy for chair, or no, that's who
Should
it
have,
was.
one from Sheila
And
People.
then, Lisa Graham for the planning commission.
So, to make it easy on Lori, we could make a motion at the end after we discuss these and then we want to appoint them. Bill, you had a question?
Yeah, I didn't know how you were gonna go about the list.
We go down one by one and,
Okay, because I don't want to skip.
yeah, okay. So the first one we have is, for zoning board of adjustment. Sheila Pecor was appointed in Peter Gruden's spot, and his term is up in 2024. And Dave Saldo is up in 2024. We had a letter from Sheila Pecor that she would like to be reappointed to the board.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to do them all?
You don't have
Do them individually, you want to do them?
Make it easy for Lori at the
I
end.
didn't do them all.
Unless you have any objections going down.
Well, that's my question is,
Oh.
What if you
That's
take
okay.
the one and,
I don't think
if
they're
we
individual.
don't,
Okay.
if there's people on here that have not, I'm
Yeah.
gonna, I'm gonna use one for example, Luke. Okay, no one sent the letter, but should we reach out to these people and ask if they wanna be reappointed before we appoint someone?
Well, that's what I was asking before.
typically, historically, we would just basically appoint the person that was in the seat, unless there was like a.
But, okay, so let's move down, we have Aaron, and then Lisa has sent a letter for that position.
Right.
But should we send out a letter to Aaron or ask Aaron first
Well, I'm,
before we appoint it to Lisa?
if you read my letter, it's if there's a seat that's open, I don't wanna take
Well,
Aaron's
that's
seat.
what I'm wondering, is this open though?
Right, I don't wanna take
Yeah,
Aaron's
what's
seat
the
on that.
Right.
official, like, cutoff date?
We can
for
do
your-
I don't know if
We
it's
can
considered
start
open
dating
tonight
the
or
same
because he's not here, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
He hasn't resigned, but he also hasn't said he wants.
Should we make it public to the people in town, maybe there's other interested parties?
Well, Lori does at the end of the minutes,
Okay.
know when to step
Well, I
forward.
understand her, I understand Lisa saying, look, if Aaron wants it, you're good with that, you're not trying to say, I want it and pull it, but if there was, you know what I'm saying, I just wanna make sure that we reach out.
yeah,
to
I just
them.
didn't know how else to word it, so
No,
I kept
that's-
it short and
that's
sweet.
perfect. Yeah, that's
Typically,
fine.
people, especially someone like, I'll take Dave for example, he's just been reappointed year after year, he probably, if we change the
This is
situation
the way
on
it's
him,
gonna
he may not realize that, okay, all of a sudden I gotta come down and reapply.
Right.
If we wanna change the whole formula, we can do that, but
Lori?
historically, we would just reappoint people.
Okay.
Right, and probably since mid-December, we've added, anyone interested in serving as an appointed board member, please review the expiring appointed positions in the town report and contact a member of that board or the select board. So,
These have been out since December.
Lori, did you forward mine to the planning commission also?
I'm still.
I didn't
I'm
get it.
Do you wanna
slow.
do
Maybe
it?
I'm slow,
Oh,
but
cause I did put
we
that
said
in,
tonight, okay, we're gonna appoint Lisa.
'Cause then I thought Aaron
Yeah,
would-
yeah,
I didn't
Aaron,
do that.
and then you-
cause I thought Aaron would get it that way.
Well, let's,
I mean, I think we
let's
should
let
reach
Lori
out to
send a
him,
letter.
like you said, and see if.
How about if I text him?
Let's send a
Well,
letter.
that's, yeah, that's the only one that really would be an issue. at
Yeah,
this
let me
point.
just
Yeah.
send him
Yeah.
a text.
That'd be great, that'd kind of straighten it out.
Yep.
I mean, there's
Next board meeting.
Yeah, because I mean, these people, some of these board meetings might meet soon,
Yeah.
you know?
A fair assessment.
So, I mean, I do have a question with some of my situations. At the planning commission, I mean, I am an ex officio, I kinda know what that means. My term is up this year. And we did vote as a board to go down to 7. I don't know if that position is just eliminated at that point, I'm not
So
exactly.
you're
I
saying,
think that's
Lisa
what we
could probably-
decided, Kurt.
It's not a vacancy though,
Right.
because my seat is just
Oh.
gone. We went from 9 to 7. So I'm assuming, without any real knowledge on the statutes or whatever, that just disintegrates my position. That's my assumption, I don't really know.
who decided to go down to 7?
We did.
I think
as a
we did
board.
a meeting.
The planning board?
Yeah, we did.
No, the select board.
We went down to 7, so my term's up there. So I'm assuming it's an 8-person board now, and
7,
7.
Jennifer
Jen.
Hughes is,
Jen's also
she,
up.
yeah,
she's out soon.
she's still a member, but, so it's
So-
7
When you guys,
member with 1 ex officio.
right, when you guys decided, recognized that you were both ex officio, you could have said there's 2 vacancies and kept it at 9, but you went down to 7 and
Yep.
just left it at that.
Which seems to be smoother, is that correct, Deb?
Yes.
Maybe in
meetings,
fairness
kind
to
of,
everybody, we should have Lori write a letter and just say, if you'd like to be appointed to your current position, please get back to Lori or send the select board a letter saying you would like to be reappointed as energy coordinator or septic officer. If we don't hear from you by
Next meeting?
next meeting, we will appoint someone else in your position. Is that agreeable?
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
so that would be the time that I would then not accept the appointment to the Conservation Commission.
It probably would hurt if you get the letter.
So one word just about the Conservation Commission quick. If anyone really wants to get involved in town politics,
He's gonna stay.
that's the commission that I got my start at 12 years ago. They don't meet
You wanted to
much,
know
but
what
I
I
would
was doing.
strongly suggest that someone tries to revive this thing, just as an advisory type of board, especially with all kinds of FEMA stuff going on, invasive plants that come into the town. These are conversations that they could have, and, advise us on things that we should do, as a select board. It's a dead board, I mean, we don't need, it's real easy, it's a real easy involvement.
It shouldn't
We
be
meet once
dead.
every 17
Aaron
years.
is staying. It shouldn't be dead.
Not the planning board, the conservation
Okay.
commission is what I'm talking about.
Aaron is staying.
Yeah, Aaron's not on the conservation commission.
I did get, you mentioned the FEMA and Conservation Commission, I did get a letter from FEMA saying, they will be meeting soon. The FEMA Community Coordination meeting soon to discuss the preliminary data in the fairly small Deerfield River watershed portion of flood insurance rate map panels in our town. Who do we contact? Chair and town clerk and zoning administrator.
Where is the Deerfield in our
It's probably gotta be way up,
town? Harborville.
maybe the road that goes nowhere?
Harborville.
That's
It's
part
in
of the
Harborville.
Deerfield, isn't
Gotta
it?
be.
Coming
Yeah,
down,
it's
coming down from Dog Pond, down that way.
Yeah.
What's that?
Denver Pond runs it all the way.
Oh, yeah,
East branch of the Deerfield.
I'll Lori make copies of it. So it's gonna, they wanna know who to meet with soon. So I don't know how soon it is, but they probably didn't get in touch with you yet, Deb.
Not yet.
I think they still wanna know who the town clerk is, who the chairman, and who the administrative officer is, so I will get back to them.
What are they doing? What's happening?
They wanna look at the Deerfield portion of the flood map.
Where is that, Nancy? I've heard you guys talking about it.
The road that goes nowhere in Hartwellville where they're logging,
If you go down past Dutch Hill,
Yeah.
come back down
Yeah.
right
left hand.
before
Near the-
Raymond's garage, there's a road where they all go snowmobiling.
Oh,
You go all the way
right.
back up that, there's brooks that go back into Stanford.
Okay.
So that brook that comes out runs down towards Reedsville.
there's not much, is there, Dave, in Stanford?
It's
And
only right to work on one.
Yeah,
There's nothing up there in Stanford.
right, it's never gonna flood Stanford.
See, there's this great divide up there, all of us on the other side of the mountain.
Exactly.
Stanford Pond goes into Roaring Brook.
Right, that goes the other way. Mud pond goes in the,
Yeah, the Roaring Brook goes into the Deerfield.
does it?
Yeah.
This roaring brook goes in right here, North Branch, or
Yeah.
right to the Hoosic right here. on the-
Oh, I got it, in the long way, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not gonna do any appointments tonight, we're gonna leave everybody as is. So we're here for
Brook
next
doesn't
week.
go in here, but this goes in.
It goes into
No.
the mud pumps, it ends up.
I didn't even say your name.
Yeah,
No.
who's that?
I'll let him know.
Who's that for?
You may rethink it
Oh,
if
it's
you want.
spelled, yeah.
It's like, phew.
Yeah.
Okay.
Judicial Bureau appointments. Lori, can you tell us?
So, the 5 select board are normally issuing officials and appearing officials at the judicial bureau. So you would probably need to remove Pam and Marie and add John and Doug. I believe Arundel should stay the same.
That's the justice of the peace.
No,
Didn't we
this
have
is,
to
this
nominate
went
somebody?
to court.
Oh,
The ticket was
Oh,
issued and
okay, I
that's
thought
on
it
a
was like
form.
that board of payment.
Nope.
So it's all of us, it's not just like 2 of us or something?
Well, say if you see something that's wrong, you wanna be the appearing official also, not me, because I didn't see what was
Okay.
happening, so we can be issuing and appearing officials. So I make a motion that we remove Marie and Pam and add John and Doug.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Designation of meeting dates. Keep it the first and third Thursday of the month.
Yeah, just getting the hang of that.
Yeah, well, I've been
Change
trying
that.
to change it for 10 years and it won't do it for me.
Did you have another meeting?
Yeah.
6 o'clock works for everybody?
6 o'clock? Okay. Designation of newspaper for publication. Right now, we put our legal notices in the Eagle. The attorney that does our tax sales said that the Bennington Banner is much, much cheaper. So I called the Eagle to ask how many people get home delivery and how many get on, just online for each, the Eagle and the Banner. So the Eagle, there's 37 families that get the Eagle and 7 that just get digital. But of the 37, they can get digital and hard copy. So there's 42. And the Banner is 3 people get hard copy and 2 just digital. So there's 5. So I think we probably have, do we stick with the Eagle?
Yeah, I was
Or do we-
actually
or do
surprised, I
we-
was
or
actually
do we-
surprised 42 people get papers.
I know.
Or do we?
Someone's gotta start the fireworks.
That's it.
My father brings them all to
How
me.
many
And
are- how many are at Belmont selling?
They won't deliver
We
it
don't know
to
that.
where I live.
Yeah, he just gives me
Yeah, I don't
a
know.
stack
Yeah.
every time he sees me.
What's the difference? Is it
I know you got paper.
Derogatory here, but I
I-
know probably some people up in Bennington haven't been happy with the Eagle delivering and things of that sort, so.
My question, do we need to do a newspaper at all?
Yes. Cause
It
Laura, yes.
has to be
It's gotta
paper?
publish
Legal.
zoning
Has to be
bylaws.
paper.
We can't do like
A
an
newspaper
online,
in
like
general
a
circulation in your
iBroker
town.
or something like that?
What'd you say, Lori?
She had said it had to be, and I said, I think the statute reads a newspaper in general circulation in your town. So you can kind of pick what you want.
Okay.
And the Eagle was the most, the
Got
better.
the most.
Yeah.
I like myself the Deerfield Valley, that seems to give some, little bit of local news, but it tells what's going on in other towns, like what are they dealing with, floods, snow removal roads, the mud roads, and they're dealing with the same thing as we are.
What's their prescription there, 1, just you?
No,
No, I get that
there's
newspaper also.
probably about
Do you?
four.
Yes, I do.
You get it
I
too?
do.
They didn't there, because we
Well, I
said
know
the
five
eagle,
there.
people that get it.
because the eagle that went over to our house.
Because more
We're
than-
probably paying
We're too far
for
up.
the banner. So we'll stick with the
Friday.
Eagle.
Do you need motions for these or just decisions?
Make a motion.
I motion to stay with the Eagle.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Do you wanna do one for your meeting time?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Motion.
Second for the meetings?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. Designation of select board member to review bills.
Nominate Nancy Mashika.
These would be done on the week. Some months we have, 3 pay periods and we don't have a meeting. So I'm sure the boys would like to get paid. Right there, yeah. No, Dave. I'm not gonna say the rest. What was your motion?
For you.
Okay,
Second.
second,
Aye. Third.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Designation of highway liaison.
You want one?
Kurt, you expressed interest in that?
Yeah.
You're not getting out of school, though. You're doing both.
Where?
No,
The school's not on there.
there you go.
Oh, yeah? Where's it at?
I don't,
We just pulled out of midair last year.
nominate Kurt.
Any second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Kurt, you're it.
Well, I think the school's not on there. We just pulled that out of thin air last
We
year.
did.
Yeah.
Just in the moment.
I think it was because we
Infrastructure.
weren't having those joint meetings, but I tell you, Erica, after this town meeting, Erica actually approached me and said she wants to get back to those joint meetings and try to, work a couple of things out.
Wants to do it, we wanna add it in here. I don't see it hard or anything, but it's not on the list.
Well, I think anybody that wants to go and report back to the board, 'cause
Yeah.
you really didn't, you heard what happened there and then you came back anyway, so I guess any one of us
If we
could
need it,
go.
we can always.
I think the original intent was some of what you brought up in the meeting the other night, is about how to manage infrastructure
Right.
and who should pay for what and stuff like
Right.
conversation that we should have.
I asked about the town office windows, cause every year the school board replaced a few windows, north side, east side, whatever, and, they have 2 more windows to go behind Teresa's desk,
Mhm.
and, Erica thinks they're in the budget.
Okay.
If they, yeah, thinks they're in the budget.
And another one that isn't on here that I thought of later is, like the website,
Oh, yeah.
person in charge of the website.
Designation of sheriff or state police liaison. Mike, do you wanna continue doing that?
I don't mind, there's not much to do now.
No.
Motion.
Do we need it?
Wanna do it?
Oh, I can still, I have the.
You know, something to get brought back up.
Okay. Can I have a motion to appoint Mike?
Motion.
Any seconds?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Seemed pretty dead the other night, but you never know.
Oh,
Aye.
you
It picks
still-
back up again.
there's times where you might just need to call the sheriff for
Yeah.
one event, or, state troopers or something. I've called the state troopers just because people have reached out to me and said that things weren't what they wanted, and I just reached out and said, this is a communication. I
Right.
said, what happened? They didn't even answer, and
It's a good one.
it's good to have that communication back and forth.
Designation of DV fiber representative. Last year it was Bob Briggs, Bill Levine, and CJ. Should we send them a letter again?
Bob, I would like to continue.
Okay,
I have not discussed it with CJ, and he has not attended anything since you appointed him. So ask perhaps a letter if he wants to continue.
So a motion for Bob and Bill.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Did you get the paperwork from DV fiber too? There's a form that you have to fill out? Okay,
Pretty sure I did.
okay, if not, I think they sent me one too.
I got hooked up yesterday. Smooth as silk. Happy as can be.
Yes?
Just saying.
Did you get your phone hooked up with it too, or just kept that separate?
That's amazing.
Right now, I'm just doing cell phone. I'm just gonna get rid of consolidated and my landline altogether. Cause you know, power outage, couldn't use it anyway. 'Cause, you know, I calls.
Do you, so on your cell phone, do you get, does it go through your computer? Or you
If
get
she-
self-service up
She
there?
can do both.
I get cell service, or I can get Wi-Fi calls, but I can also get regular calls. Sometimes I have to walk up to Doug's.
To get
Yeah, if it's
signals,
windy or
yeah.
cloudy, but usually I still, if I step out onto my front, if y'all see me sitting out on my front stoop, drinking a glass of wine and talking to somebody on the phone, it's because I'm getting better reception there, but generally my cell phone works great. Sometimes, as I say, I have to walk a little bit up the hill.
I understand there's a battery that backs up too,
Yeah.
and the power goes out.
Six,
Yep,
Yeah.
6 hours.
firehouse was connected this week.
Good. Well, it's
Circling-
quick.
Circling around.
So quick.
Mm-hmm. And my
Actually,
son
just
found
as-
that we can stream now. I go, I don't know anything about that.
Oh, girl.
Just as
You're
a
in
side
for a
comment, the entire town has been released for connection. All of, they had originally done the north end of town and then the south end, and there was kind of the middle, which was over toward East Road. As of Wednesday, the entire town was available for connection.
Nice young man, very polite.
Ishmael?
No, I think his name was Ryan. He
That-
looked about
that-
12.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He's good
Just to clarify, the only thing that 8-hour battery does is keep your modem running. It doesn't do anything for your router. So if you want to keep your router and your modem going, you need to find a separate battery backup for that,
Ah,
So you can't use it without the route.
without the
You couldn't
router.
use it without the router anyways.
Well, it's designed for the telephone part, to keep the modem, because the modem has the telephone section in
Oh, I
it.
see.
And so it's only designed to keep your
You
phone
need
running.
a copy.
So you'll have to get a separate battery to keep your router running for the Wi-Fi.
Use the computer
Yeah.
itself.
Found that out the hard way?
Or you just turn the generator
You read by candlelight.
Okay.
Black.
So
Or
designation of
headlight.
someone to, work, to keep up our website. Marie was doing it last year, she offered to continue doing it. I believe we found that it worked pretty good if we had a select board member doing it or somebody out of the office, because we've had problems before. But it's up to you guys who you want to,
Could that be
Yeah,
like an
when-
appointed position, like some of these other positions are appointed?
Well,
I mean, I don't want anything to do with maintaining the road.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that either. No, me either.
It's up to you. I mean, I used to do it as part of the select board job. Marie wanted it, she did a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, if Marie's
It's just
willing to do it, so.
Decision on whether you wanna go outside the board or not.
But you're still sending her stuff to put on, right? So you're,
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's my question, if you're sending the stuff outside now, do you wanna keep it, do you wanna just put it on, or do you wanna send, what, is it a lot of work, that's what. Now that it's
I
up
don't
and
wanna put
running,
more on you.
right,
Yeah, it's really not that hard to do.
I'd be willing, if you need somebody to do it, I'd be more than willing to do it.
okay,
Well, Marie was said she would be.
Right, no, I'm
willing
just
to-
saying, if you need somebody,
Right,
I'd
right.
be more than
The
willing.
problem, I think, that was with Marie was, the website somehow wasn't, the information wasn't getting from point A to point B. Like, a lot of people have said that everything isn't on the website, and I don't know where the breakdown in communication is, but, and I don't know how.
when it first started, that's exactly, it was
Yeah,
not getting, I don't think we knew what we wanted. to
Like,
put
even the
on.
election stuff wasn't on the website for the
Yeah.
longest time, and
Right, right,
so I just think there needs to be some kind of liaison with Marie, if she's gonna be doing the site, since she's not on the board anymore.
you
That
wanna try it for a year, and just let Marie continue to do it, and if things are getting better.
I'm fine with that.
I don't have a problem with it, as long as we make sure that it stays within our guidelines, that things don't get put on that we don't want.
right, right.
You
And
know,
that's
is it
basically,
very,
that's basically how we managed it last year.
Yeah, I mean, I
I don't
think
think Marie's gonna try to be
she
malicious
wasn't
or anything like that.
yeah,
I don't think so.
Ingrained into the town, so
right, yeah,
she's gonna try to do
Yeah,
everything.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, then,
Thank you.
do we wanna appoint Marie for a year and see how it works and? motion?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? I think that's all our appointments. All right, hearing of visitors. Jeff,
We talked about recording video and our meetings, so I'd like to try to keep doing that. I'm doing it now with my cell phone to see how that works for sound and quality. I've got a couple other things at the house, so as we do meetings, I'm just gonna, if that's all right with everyone.
do you have to let people know that you're recording? I mean, we're in the public here, so I
Well,
don't think you need our permission.
We can make that statement.
in the-
If he's doing it for the selectmen, we should make that statement that it's being recorded. If we are doing it for the select board, I would like to make sure that it stays within the select board and doesn't go out on social media.
Mhm.
Because what happens on social media is they can add things to it,
Oh, yeah.
put music to it, make it look, I've seen it on YouTube where they go to meetings.
What is it gonna be?
Yes.
It needs to be
So-
out so the public
Yeah,
can
If
see
you're,
it.
if you're recording it for the select board, where does the recording stay? How do people get a copy of it? Because I don't wanna be bugging Lori, they're gonna be here
Right.
24/7 for Lori.
My idea there would be almost to, I can do it, send it to Marie, Marie can attach it to the minutes for,
So I guess it could go on
The
social
website?
media anyway. then.
Yeah.
so I mean,
It
if you're gonna
should
make it, give it to the public, you can do, anything can happen to it.
Right, once it's public, anything can happen
Right.
to it, you can,
But anybody wanting an official version is getting it from the town website. So unless they're looking for trouble, if
No,
they're
no,
getting
yeah,
it from the
if
town
they could, if
website.
they wanted to, just like they could take a picture and put a mustache on.
It would just be a good,
Somebody might take
Yeah.
off your clothes, Mike.
Exactly.
Get out of AI and everything.
Yeah.
Or they might make you.
There's a
look
big,
like
there's a big sign that says beware
She's
underneath it.
recording it, and people can get a copy of that recording, but mostly she's recording it for her summarization.
Yeah.
I mean,
The minutes only need to be who's in attendance and who makes the motion and seconds them, what the motion is.
we don't.
You don't have to put anything else in there.
We almost need like some kind of legal document or something, only, before we, like, everything recorded, put out.
I think that there are many towns that do a video of their meeting for people who, work late, have little kids, whatever. I mean, accessibility to our town meeting is a good thing, right? More people should know.
I mean, I just think we need something more in writing rather than just making a decision right now.
I mean, it's in the open
on the
meeting.
report.
It's already in the open meeting.
It's already open
And
practice.
Vermont's law is as long as one party knows it's happening,
Right,
so
right.
that's kind of how it
We
lands.
learned that with our dog catcher.
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you want me to get in touch with Vermont League of Cities and Towns, see what they have for model policies about recordings?
You can,
So,
I mean, I know, like he
I
said,
don't personally have a problem
legally,
with
he
it.
can just record that right now, you don't have to tell anybody. It's not for the select board though, it's just.
Right, right,
He records it, he can say, hey, I'm recording this,
yeah,
and there's nothing you can do about it, it's like a reporter coming in.
Right.
you know?
I think the point is to get it, because obviously not many people can attend meetings. The thing is to have more transparency and involvement for our town, so people
Sure.
with cooking dinner at home for their kids right now can be more involved with our town government. I think it's a win-win, you know.
I don't disagree with that, I
No.
just wanna make sure, that
but they can,
everything's covered.
So I think the town website is a place, like when Lori puts the minutes up, I think a link right there that would bring you to the video would make sense.
And until you guys decide, I'll just keep them to myself.
You could just ask, the LTC, though, you don't have to.
does the school board record?
no, I'm not going to a lawyer,
No way.
what's that?
The school board, do they do video, or is that just?
Say Zoom.
They
They
do,
Zoom.
they
This is
Zoom
Zoom,
every
right.
meeting so that
But they're not
anybody.
looking at the people out in the audience.
Do they record the Zoom or do they just have the Zoom at that moment?
I'm not sure.
Is it
Not
available?
sure if they're
They're
recorded.
recordings and I never ever get them.
Yeah, I think it's just like you can live
They
stream.
got some people on Zoom.
Because you can record Zoom easy enough. That maybe the school board should also put that on there.
But if I had to do technology.
They could.
On their own.
Mom would-
He's-
oh,
he's
my
very-
mom would-
he's-
I know.
They
Do
could.
what they want
Right.
It's hard to control any of it.
Right, right. Oh, I'm not worried
Yeah,
about
you-
that.
I
There was
don't
a
really have
law
a
that
problem
said
with
that you
whatever.
can't record somebody without their knowledge.
Not in Vermont. only one party has to know, so the person recording knows.
Obviously.
In Massachusetts, both parties.
Right.
I mean, okay, I just,
That actual situation that with the dog officer that we had, he recorded someone in town, didn't tell him. Came to my shop to talk to me and asked me, can I record you while we're talking? I said, absolutely not. You know, I said, I want you to record me right now. I didn't know it was on me, you know? But they have to amass,
Mhm.
which makes sense, I guess.
I don't have a problem with it, but it doesn't hurt to reach out.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll see what the
I'll let you-
LCD
Yeah,
has.
cause you're checking, it's all baby steps. things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Any other visitors? No? Reading and approval of records and orders from February 15th.
Motion to approve.
So it's-
All in favor, I guess it's us three.
Yes.
These are the orders going around, there's 4 sets, and if everybody, they wanna look them over. In the past, we've gone through every bill and looked at them. Some boards didn't wanna do that because it took up too much time, so if you wanna look at them ahead of time before the meeting, or I come in like a day before and look them over when it's quiet and peaceful, because I don't wanna sign anything that's a lot of money, I'm cheap.
Thank
So,
goodness.
yeah, so pass these around and their signature,
So
and be sure to sign the last page.
Nancy, so you kind of pre-approve everything, right?
Yes,
Okay.
but Lori and Teresa know what bills have to be paid, and if there's a question, hey Nancy, we got a big one here, or what's going on here, so we'll hold it, and I put a note on there so the board sees that we spent $10,000 on
Right, and we've actually,
nails.
we've actually bought stuff and said, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Even
Yep.
with the sheriff had done it before.
I think what my point was, you've kind of gone through them all, so they can almost streamline signing it, like each person.
Yeah, if
They
they're
can if they
comfortable.
want, yeah.
Yep. And we keep track of the voided checks too. This is Dave's, time sheet of what equipment he uses on what day and usually what road. This is telling the road, or in his, time sheet, he tells what road he's working on and grading or ditching or plowing. Because, if we have to apply for grants or reimbursement, this is good to keep track of that. We have proof of how many hours we use that equipment and on what road. Yeah, just, right here under your name, just your initials is fine.
Do you do an alarm, you keep track of your miles too?
No, I don't think, because we want to cool this there, I don't know if it's, you know, like, we don't get fuel tax the way that, you know, normal trucks would. And there's only 2 of us, so it's kind of, and usually I drive one vehicle and one drives the other, so it's kind of have our own separate.
Very well, we're at a little lull here. Have you heard anything from the auditors? Still sending stuff and,
Just signing them, so.
They're all in the same folder.
Every couple of days, they want another couple of documents, and I asked them to wait a week or so until after I got through town meeting and election, but now we'll start right in with.
any indication when they might be done?
Our last auditor only wanted like bank statements and everything through the end of December. These guys wanted to wait until everything was reconciled through the end of January, and they wanted all that information, so they haven't even given me any dates, cause they wanted to wait until all of that was sent up to them.
Nancy, you talked about having a meeting for the Russ, Civic Board Authority about the aftermath of that.
Oh,
That happen? I mean, did that get scheduled?
Board of Civil Authority, This year, we're having reappraisal. And the first step is the assessors will send you a notice that your assessment is, and then you come in and meet with the assessor. And if you don't like that, then you come to the Board of Civil Authority. And there's various steps that we have to go through and say, yeah, the assessor was wrong, because he's comparing your house to, say, Poppin's big Hawaiian house down there. And that's, I mean, you probably have 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, and they probably have 10, I don't know, but. So, we'd say, wait a minute, why are you doing this and how come? So because it's the reappraisal year, we think there's gonna be a lot of people questioning how come, why. And the Vermont League of Cities and Towns does provide training. I set one up for March 21st, but they can't do it.
Oh,
So now I'm hoping for April 7th, before our select board meeting, like at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But I haven't heard back from her yet, so
April
we're still at
7th?
home.
April 7th is a Sunday.
Oh, well, it must be
11th, 4th.
our first meeting.
4th, it will be 4th.
Yeah, the first meeting will be the 4th.
Well, whatever date that was, that's what I
Okay,
asked
so
for
4
that.
o'clock that day?
Maybe,
Hopefully, fingers
maybe.
crossed. Just wanna pencil it in, so I don't
Okay. I haven't heard back from Vermont League of Cities and Towns yet, so
pencil to the question mark.
I don't know what's happening. But it's good to see the steps that we have to do and how to do it. There's certain things just because, you know, we like, your house and not your house or something like that. You have certain steps to go. Have you ever been through that, Mike, or civil authorities? Yes. I'm pretty sure with your reappraisal, we will have a lot. Okay, everybody signed? All the-
Yeah, the back of the folder though, we're supposed to initial it as well,
Mhm.
and it still has Marie's and Queen's.
Oh, are you down at the bottom?
We're down at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah, you did give us a new one at the bottom. Cause I don't think we've been paid for that quarter yet, we're starting a new term, so she's still got to have those, right? Oops, that came off something, that must have came off of that clip, but if you keep them together, the wheels will figure them out.
Watch out for fall off the table.
Oops, oh, it came off, that's why.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Okay. There,
Yeah,
John.
did you sign it?
Yeah, I did.
Alright. Already signed it?
Oh, Kurt didn't sign either.
Let's sign the one.
Yeah, Kurt's right here.
Oh, Kurt.
And you're
No,
name is-
no, take those
You
off.
must have taped it over the top.
Okay,
I taped
just
it
take this whole
over the
thing off?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I figure we could start fresh with that for now, till the end of the day.
Oh, I see.
Here, before we do any more damage to it.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, stop me if you have any questions, guys. Okay. Annual financial plan under road conditions.
So Dave Dater and I met with, his name escapes me now, Patrick Wilson. He did say that because we're not receiving all 4 AOT payments for this year, that we should really only mark what we are receiving. So our income like our budget is a lot less than what we were expecting for road, it will help us with our percentages in case there's a disaster. We still do what, it's 60-40 split between winter highway maintenance and non-winter maintenance.
Here?
So you're gonna sign, yeah.
Because we got 2 agency of transportation payments last year, should we designate them or ask the auditors to designate them for 2024 and?
We definitely can.
Make a motion to sign the plan, because you went over it and we're good?
Is that a motion, or are we asking someone?
Second. Yeah, sometimes she asks, sometimes she makes a motion.
Yeah, yeah.
And then along with that, the town road and bridge standards on the back, we're saying that yes, we're in compliance with what we need to be doing.
We're in compliance, Dave?
Yes,
Do they still check them over, each bridge, or do they do it every?
no, they do that, I think it's every other year,
Mhm.
and then we get a report,
We're doing better in North Adams Bridge, I
probably.
And say that we need a new bridge for $1 million.
No, I think we're in good shape there.
And then your
think. Take your life in
certificates,
your hands, going
Every
up
bridge
there.
in town.
Yeah, what do they do?
What is this one here?
so that's signing the road and bridge standards, and then this one is saying that you're in compliance with the road and bridge standards.
Okay, we're in compliance with it, yes, we make a motion for everything.
Is that a motion?
Yes. Motion
Second.
to sign all 3 of these? All in favor? All right, recycling.
We don't wanna talk about roads at all? That's it?
Oh, sorry, Dave, yes.
Poor guy came here, he looks tired already, hey, how's the roads? Snowy or
Muddy?
Muddy and potholy, but this is, 'tis the season, I guess, we've been out, what, I probably put out a couple hundred yards of stone,
Thank you.
so, we've definitely done a lot.
How's, the sure?
The Sure Road's good.
Last year, that seemed to be a
I mean, I did have to put some stone out up on the far section of it for the hills. Holding, it's the shady areas this year, most of the shady areas.
Yeah.
We had a lot of rain last year, and it never dried out, so all that rain there, got froze, and, so,
The ditches are all running good on the side of the road?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how good of shape our roads really are, considering, so.
Yeah, you go north, they,
Yeah, I think you're gonna find if you head to Route 9, you're gonna see a lot of cars parked on the side of the road. The UPS and FedEx guys are telling me that, you know, White Man, Reed's Road,
yeah,
all the areas they can deliver, so.
Yeah.
We got ahead of it this year, I could see where we're starting to let go, you know, because of the way the thaw's been, and some of the frozen days, we just went crazy and got ahead of it, and, so, we're in good shape.
thanks,
But,
Dave.
I mean, it's gonna be weeks, you know, before we can actually upgrade probably, and that's all depends on, seems like we're gonna go back cold and then warm and cold, so.
Yeah.
They're gonna take a while to dry out, unfortunately, especially with all this rain, and
Sure.
the water table's already high in the road, so. Just bear with us, we'll get at it as soon as we can, I mean, I want it done more than probably anybody else does, so. Cause it drives me crazy.
Thank you.
What else, Dave?
Uh,
Equipment's good?
Yeah, I've, just kind of been looking online, cause we got approved for the purchase of a loader, and it seems at this point that a lot of used equipment that we would be interested in is out in Northeast right now, from a lot of the dealers throughout the Northeast, so most of that's gonna come back in April, they said, so I'm kinda waiting for some phone calls
what are you thinking of doing with the current loader?
I mean, if somebody wanted to take it on trade, that'd be great, I don't think it's worth a lot of money. I would assume, I would rather they did that, so we didn't have to sell it to everybody.
Right.
I feel like the frame on that loader is on borrowed time at this point, it's pretty rotted and it may be a safety issue for somebody, I don't know, I mean, yeah, somebody could fix it up if they really wanted to make a farm loader out of it or something, but the town wants the liability to kind of sell it unless they really are fully aware of
You don't want
what's wrong with it, you know, maybe they sign and say, hey, we realize that this thing's pretty much salvage, you know.
As is where it is.
Yeah. But I don't know, it's not, like I said, it's not really worth a lot of money.
Cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah. Most people aren't really interested in it,
Right.
but some maybe. Once I tell them about it, they don't really want much to do with it. They don't wanna have to resell it to somebody.
Good.
Yeah.
Recycling,
How the batteries, last meeting you said you had a couple boxes of batteries, did they go out or?
do you know if they went out?
Haven't seen
I
it there.
Carol brought two
Package
big,
here.
heavy boxes and then Federal Express packaged them.
Okay. And we get new boxes in, right? As soon as they get them, we get new boxes in. Did
Carbon
we,
footprint and all that.
I know we discussed that the patrons should be taping the tops of their batteries, but we didn't put that in our recycling minutes, or our recycling,
Right, and you're okay, I don't think they knew them.
we didn't put it there.
If somebody asks, from what they told us, you know, Buzz, and they said electrical tape. They
Yes.
don't want to accept packaging tape or cellophane
Right.
tape.
What's all the,
No, because they did have to do the class before we could accept batteries, they had to do the video on how to accept the batteries and
They said
package
if
them.
somebody asks, you know, what do I do with my batteries?
what's the end of the line for the batteries? What is the final stage of this batteries?
No idea.
Landfill? Where the
No, somewhere, somehow, we gotta safely recycle those.
Small children.
I mean, you
Would it be
get.
worth having a roll of electrical tape at the recycling center, so if somebody brings it in, you say you didn't take it, but there's a.
They probably got it in
roll
there.
of
Yeah,
it.
they do.
I gave them a buzz, I did that specific thing when they
Yeah.
were having an issue, I said, here, if somebody comes in, hand them this roll.
Yeah,
Right.
You know, then next time they'll remember.
Yeah.
yeah,
You cater to them once, you're gonna talk constantly cater to them.
that's right. Teach Amanda fish.
Good luck, UPS and every month or whatever.
I would think
This
that,
feels like a window dressing feel good type of thing.
It is.
I don't know how
It's not
many
even
batteries
really
we
long.
get there, I mean, there was really a backlog of batteries, now should we be getting as much as we had, or?
How often do you replace the remote batteries, you know?
Yeah, I
This is
can't,
what, twice a year?
What about all those Christmas toys, you know, those little dogs that go,
yeah,
and flip over?
so maybe Christmas
You
time.
need
we have a lot.
flashlight batteries during the winter.
And then spring and summer, when you change your, smoke alarms.
This is you, but yeah.
Does people need to know that they recycle the batteries?
I think a lot of
I
people
think
don't
we
know,
said
they're
it in
supposed
our handout when we hand out our
Is
recycling
that
cards.
when you got your recycling cards?
You gotta
Okay,
read
so
that
rise
pink
it
one
from
this time.
50%.
But that would be a good whole thing on the website, right? All the information about recycling, including taping your batteries and what you
I
can
think
and
it's on
can't
there,
do.
but not the taking part.
Right before I came into this meeting, I got a report from my UPS guy that I sent the part out to Arkansas yesterday, and they destroyed my package, and they cannot find any of my parts. So when they do the same thing with these batteries, I wonder what they do, if they retape them or not, and put them back in the box.
For over the years, bro.
Okay.
There's a lot of times you find UPS packages just over the roadside.
Mine are 7.5 inch disc, 1 inch thick. There's 20 of them in the box, they can't find any of them.
the big parking lot
You gotta be
outside
on, ride around someone's truck somewhere here.
the big parking lot outside of, Mohawk Trail State Forest on Route 2 has a lot of this packages, so.
Yeah.
Really?
Can't deliver it, leave it outside?
I'll leave it out into the woods. Sure. Why not? Woods are great places to get rid of all your trash.
We got a whole lot of furniture set out there on Friday Road, buddy.
Did they find out who that furniture belongs to?
So what's that? It must have been recent because I saw one up with the Jeep to go to camp. And, he didn't see it, and then the next day it was on Facebook and we had pictures of it. It
Be
was
kind
a
of muddy to get up.
couch and chairs.
Maybe.
Maybe you shouldn't fix that part of the road, Dave, and let them
Yeah, you
get
can get
started.
in there from both sides, though, it's probably people can look at them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't see stoves and refrigerators and all kinds of stuff over
Always,
there.
anytime you can find a remote place that still has access by road.
I would dump it right in the side, like right on a nice, turnaround or something. It was when they throw it over the baggie down into the brook, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
come on, people,
It's like people that put their dog poop into little baggies and launch it up into the tree, right?
Oh, I never heard of that one.
For the Christmas tree right now.
Just kind of going back to roads a little bit, that last storm we had where all the men with the power went out, Green Mountain Power's response was really unacceptable in that storm, and I say that because at midnight or a little before when the power went out, I looked out the window and saw how icy the road was and decided that I better try to get after some of that. And, I couldn't get to the highway garage, so I had a special number that I could call right to their dispatch, so that, they'll kind of, prioritize, especially if we can't get through the road.
Right.
That was at midnight, and I had a thought that the guy couldn't tell me when they were gonna arrive, so I started north towards the state garage to see if I could get some salt from them, at least to go around our pavement until they did get here to borrow some, and I ran into the power company coming south, so I turned around and met up with them at the line, and they came up and decided that they couldn't deal with the tree because the tree company. But they did trim a few limbs off so that I could get under it to get to the garage, so I could at least use our small ram truck. And I went around the pavement with the saw, and came back and noticed the tree company arrived, so I said, well, I'll give them a little bit of time. I think I came back like 45 minutes later and they were sleeping in the truck. Tree company. They had cut a piece of the top of the tree off, and I knocked on the window of the truck and woke them up and asked what they were doing. And the guy said that they needed that, he had cut that piece of the tree, and it took him 10 minutes, and he was tired out. And then he felt like they needed the power company here to be able to do the job. And I said, well, they called you, they couldn't do it, they called you. And he told me, well, we're not doing that, and he said, we're going back to our shop. So, they left it in a worse state than it was, because then it was lower, they barely under it then. They started sanding some of our gravel roads. And about an hour later, the fire department got a call on Tatro Road for a chimney fire. So Michael and I ended up cutting the tree off the line, because I felt like it was an emergency, and I knew the power company and them had already cut on this tree, the line was cut. There was no power in the whole town, so I felt pretty confident about that. It just was completely unacceptable. They came down at least 4 times, I would say, that day. I reported trees on lines, blocking roads on Sure Road, there was trees on lines on Basin Road, there was blocking the road. There was trees on the lines on Sportsman's Road, it wasn't blocking the road, it was still hanging over the road. And the following day, none of it had been addressed, they left the lines, after they had come back to deal with the tree on Mill Road, which Michael and I had already dealt with, they left the lines hanging right in the road.
Really bad.
So I called them again the next day, and their dispatch said that the only thing they were aware of at that time was the Mill Road. So it was just a giant mess, but I know that
Even though they were aware of it, they still didn't come down.
No, they
I would
didn't.
say they were here at least a half dozen times and really didn't do much.
Right.
We
we send them like a letter?
So inefficient.
Cause I went up, one guy had to go to my daughter's up in Jew,
It was horrible.
and I couldn't believe it.
It was pretty scary.
Should we send
Well,
them
they
a
left those
letter or
lines
something
down
like
so
that?
low that to get to the fire, onto the chimney fire on Catesville Road, they used pipe poles to hold the lines up high enough to get the engine under.
What?
I mean, they knew they were dead,
Well,
but
still, what if-
You know, I know what's gonna happen, and I think we should definitely reach out to them and tell them our concerns. I know what's gonna happen, they're gonna play a blame game, it's the tree company didn't do their job, and we're gonna get another outside source, and tree company's gonna say they didn't do it. They're gonna play a blame game, but at least reach out to Green Mountain Power, send them a letter that we're not happy with what
We should be
happened.
made aware of what
No,
I
happened.
don't know what our alternative is, you know, and it's a monopoly, so when you're, if there was a customer that you use, you could say, well, I'm gonna buy from someone else, and get my
Right.
pizza somewhere else, they got us,
Yeah.
it's really,
But they're not operating on the right of way, and they really need to.
right. I mean, they didn't even put anything up to tell you there was a line down.
No,
I come around that corner, I'm like, holy
I put
crap.
cones out to try to get some awareness.
Yeah, it was a couple codes
There's
there.
only so much I could do, you know.
I think the letter and also stating that the firemen had to respond
Yeah.
to a fire.
I mean, they were already here. The people they hired were already here.
Right. And then the guy tells you it's
I
tight,
mean, what if someone lost their life, heaven forbid, lost their life in the fire?
That's
Who's
right.
liable
Yep.
for all that?
right?
That's right.
I mean,
they're responsible for whoever they hired to do the work.
absolutely.
Ultimately,
Oh, absolutely.
Point
Their
out-
name is on the dotted line.
Point all that out.
Write a good letter, but don't fluff it.
No fluff.
No fluff.
No fluff.
No.
Right.
Write it like it's coming from Dave. Nah, man, don't write it, I don't wanna use like 400 words, so.
Also, Dave, I wanted to ask about this, is this something new that we have to post the notice at two
No.
public places? That the road's closed because of mud?
That's something that we've done
Oh,
in the past. Those are the spring postings.
have you posted the road yet or not yet? Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was something new that,
Well, that paper there, I actually got new signs this year, so the state delivered those down to me, so they gave us those fancy little things to post in town. That we've posted in town before, but typically the select board just makes a motion to post,
yeah,
so I guess you should probably do that.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
post the roads as Dave feels they should be posted according to the state letter.
Whatever.
Okay.
He needs to wait.
Second.
Go
All in
on.
favor, good, Dave, thank you.
Let's hope I wait, right?
Yeah, wait and axle.
Moving on to emergency management. Bill, I have a question from follow-up last meeting about the fiber, about the charge to some households.
I didn't bring it, I printed it out. Specifically, when you sign up, they either mail you or reference you to the terms of the agreement that you've taken by signing, requesting service. And when you request service, it says that they will provide service to your house, to a router, and up to 25 feet from the router, from the entrance in the house to the router. Anything beyond that, you will be charged for. And that $140 seems to be their flat rate, because Stuart Johnson was connected this past Monday, and Stuart had cable. He had already cabled his house a long time ago, but he opted for the 300 megabyte service, and what he had run in his house was not adequate for that. Technically, it was 5E, or RF5E rather than RF6E, that carries a higher frequency signal. So they charged him a flat $146. He could have done it himself. I discussed it with him Monday night at the firehouse. He said for $145, he didn't have to buy the cable, the guy was here, he didn't have to make another appointment. They ran it.
Did we get I don't remember getting a notice. Did you remember getting a notice?
I-
Jeff, you got a notice?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So that,
Maybe some did and some didn't?
You do have to sign up, I guess you just don't always read that fine print, and you know that, you don't know that there's gonna be an extra charge until,
Well, you
He's
don't,
there.
yeah, because you don't know whether they're going to need extra cable in your house.
right, so it's,
It's part of that same thing where they say, we'll connect the first 400 feet. If you go over 400 feet, they're gonna charge you for it.
Was it online signature, a form that we had to sign, do you remember, Jeff? 'Cause you're,
When we got ours, it was part of a packet that said, we'll be here this date, and these are the things that you have to be prepared for, kind of situation.
I had to go online and ask the DD fiber people to send me a copy of it, because I signed up and I never got anything
I don't think
more
I
after
did
I
either.
signed up.
I didn't either.
But it is,
Okay.
You know, when they told me I had to have an extra line, they said I could rent it from you for $7.
that's for an extender, that's a
Oh,
physical
okay.
device.
Remember we voted to, what word to use, give money to this, and it was supposed to go to people that can't afford it. Has anyone, would you ever know if anybody used that? I don't wanna know anybody's name, I'm just saying, if someone uses it.
So far, it has not been used.
Okay.
So it's all in their pot somewhere, right?
It is sitting there at $7,500. I don't remember whether we put a limit on it and asked for the balance to be returned or not. I don't think so.
I don't think so,
I
and
don't
I
think
think they
that's
said
for
they
the-
would match
We
it.
did ask for the balance? I got
I
it.
don't know if you put a limit on it, but we did ask for the unused balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But people out there should know that that's available, if someone, and maybe at least it'll get in the minutes. But, if someone's out there saying, boy, I wish I could have that, but I can't afford it, it's out there.
There were, the original plan as it was explained to me and to Bob, was that there would be outreach workers. And I don't know how those people were going to identify those people who might need help. Privacy and security, I don't know how they're dealing with it. Theoretically, they had trained people, they talked about coming and training outreach workers here in town. I never heard anything more about it.
That did sound like the original pitch, when, I don't remember her name, but she came down here originally when she was, before we even voted on the 7,500. Somebody came here and was
And
talking
then,
about these things. Yeah, so that never panned out really.
I've just never seen it happen. Now, the original consideration was that they weren't going to be concerned with that for the first few months as they were connecting people. They didn't expect. So far as I know, in Stamford, they have not run into anybody with, they've only got one house that I know of that had a more than 400-foot conduit. Somebody on the main road. Out of personal knowledge, I don't think that person would have ever asked for or qualified for being needy.
Right.
The kind of perspective, we asked for some money, and I explained to you at the time how I tried to calculate what might possibly be needed. And I had to think about how many people have underground conduit to their home and might need help. In all likelihood, if they manage to lay conduit all the way to their house, they are probably not needy. But that wasn't my judgment to make.
Right.
Somebody might have owned a backhoe and he laid conduit in and, don't know. But it hasn't come up to this point. But I can make the point of asking again what they are doing with it. And I'll get back to you.
What else do you have under emergency manager?
After that, I've got several cans of worms.
Yes, I'm sure.
In the last 2 weeks, relative to what Dave was talking about, we've had a couple of power outages. That first one, that for some people represented a day and a half, or darn close to a day and a half without power. The second one,
How long was yours?
Oh, it was well over 2
2
days.
and a half, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
we were over 2 days without power.
Yeah, I think we got 40
Yeah,
hours.
it was 48.
there were, the second one was about 4 hours from 10 at night to 2 in the morning.
That kept me
There were
awake.
people who were looking for, what's the town doing for them? Not broadly expressing that they had need, but they wanted to know what was going on and what were we gonna do. And I threw this, I talked to Nancy and Mike at one point, late afternoon of the large power outage. At that point, nobody had called 911 saying they had an emergency or looking for help. We hadn't gone really any further in talking about how to make a public announcement if we were going to open the gymnasium. One person thought that we had a heated room in the firehouse. We don't really. The meeting room isn't really set up to receive people. We certainly could not feed them and if it was it was something that was really busy and a lot of stuff going on with floods and trucks going back and forth, and
Right.
that isn't how you're gonna keep them in the meeting room. If we open this community room as a shelter, it would only be a warming shelter. We don't qualify with Red Cross because we don't have showers. We don't have a place, nor do we have any plans for keeping animals. It's a fine line between opening it overnight for a warming shelter and once, how big's the disaster gonna be? If it's more than that, our actual kind of agreement with Berkshire County is to send our people to St. Elizabeth. They are geared for a large-scale sheltering project. They took on very generously on Tuesday, at the library to offer space from 10 to 5 in the library, people wanted it. I didn't get to go back and ask Danielle how many people, whether anybody took advantage of it. If we're gonna do something like this, I can't just ask the school or anybody else to just throw the room open. Who's gonna come watch them? Who's gonna care for it?
Is this something, the emergency management committee can work on, or, I know,
Well, we'll get there.
but we need people, we need.
We'll get there.
So, we talked, I talked to you about this, and I volunteered that day that if you need someone to babysit, or whatever you wanna call it, watch the room while it's open. Like you said, I'm in to feed them or anything like that, you can't, just to keep warm, that's fine, I would have no problem having you call me at any time to come down. But there are gonna be other times where my house might need attention first, so, we need a lot more than just me,
There've been more than once that I left Joan sitting in the store without power for herself for 8 or 10 hours while I was at the firehouse trying to, coordinate pumps being moved and people.
Was the school in action though? The school was in session, right?
Yeah, for one of the days.
So what are you gonna do with everybody when the
That's
school
right,
is
if
in?
you've got kids there, they don't like the public mixed
Well,
in with kids.
It's just really one of them things again, that we always talk about, right?
I know, I'm getting shirts made up.
This is just a way of life here.
But there is
Certain things.
it's a sensitive area in some
I
people's mind.
understand.
If St. Elizabeth, I guess they wouldn't necessarily be open if it's our, we could be having an emergency, a flood, and not them.
Our town doesn't have power, there's nothing going on.
They have the right.
Adams.
I mean,
So what's the town gonna do for me? The town's gonna tell you to go to St. Elizabeth.
But they're not open.
well, if they're not open, like we said, this past one that we had, St. Elizabeth didn't have any problem
We
at all.
could have gone to the point of taking the 20 cots and blankets out of the emergency trailer that's down at the fire. Set them up in the community room.
Why, the school's in session now?
Well, what do you
Personally, I think you should have, I think it would be okay.
Do you,
You know,
do you
bottom line,
confine the kids to classrooms?
Yeah, that's what I would say, look, you're not coming out if you wanna keep the kids safe, and put them in the
How many
classroom.
people do you have? You can find the people while school is still in session that they have to stay in the library, or they've gotta, you put the cots up on the stage and that's, we don't really have the facilities.
Yeah, and I wanna bring my dog, and do you tell me to stay?
Exactly.
It's a strange thing to get involved in.
The bottom line is, this was something that if it's freezing out, and you have 40 hours of cold,
Yeah.
and now these people, their houses are freezing, they need, not because they wanna just, feel, talk to people, they need to come, they need to get out of their house, it's cold. I reached out to my neighbors and told them, hey, if you need anything, you come on over the house, cause I have a generator. But if we have to, if someone calls 911 and says, my house is too cold, I'm freezing, what do? Do you bring them, you call the ambulance, bring them to the hospital, or you bring them here and just keep
Well, they
them?
call the fire department.
I mean, we'd have to respond to that, but Bill said no one called 911, right?
No,
It
nobody
just
did
seems like
that.
someone like, what's the town gonna do for me? I'm not really in an
No,
emergency. but,
I'm not,
you know,
but
what are you gonna do for me?
we've had this discussion twice now, we had one where it was a snowstorm, and that one there, we had this much snow, we couldn't get in there anyway, so.
And then we, look at the situation of, if we opened the school and people came here to get warm, what are we gonna do with their cars?
Right.
And how are we gonna keep
Right,
them
now Dave's
heated?
coming through with his truck.
It's a complicated thing. One of the things that they're doing to address this kind of situation in North Adams is they are trying to activate something called CERT. CERT is nationwide, it's a community emergency response team program. You can look online, CERT with periods to show it's an abbreviation. And there's a whole program, and it has a lot of different things that it addresses. I don't know where we get the people from, the same, problem that I've got, who's gonna babysit in the gym.
Cause we can't expect the firemen to do it, they're already handling whatever emergency
Yes.
that comes
Okay,
up.
we'll get around to, and we'll get around to that in a minute too. I told you, once we got a can of worms, we got a bunch.
So,
It's
Do
just
you
so hard
need-
for little rural towns like this to
do
evolve.
we need to say, we need help, we need people to form a group,
Yes.
I mean,
we need help.
I do like that we told people, have like a neighborhood watch type thing where you just get out there and just tell your neighborhoods. Look at, John was right next door to me, if Dan across the street needed help, me and John will go and give him a hand, with no problem. Although he's probably gonna help us because he's so stubborn.
They really need
But-
help.
But nevertheless, I did reach out to people in the neighborhood. If everybody could do that, it really would help, and that's the old fashioned way to do it.
20 years ago, our ultimate emergency response effort was if the power was out and communications were out, we would send every fire engine that had a public address system with up and down every street in town to tell them the school was open. That's
A lot of work.
push, well, yeah, but that's pushed to the limit of what
Yeah.
you can do.
Lisa,
Yeah.
I just was thinking of something Betsy said, that we used to have town, neighborhood captains. Did that like disintegrate? Because I feel like if we had a by neighborhood
I
thing.
think it did, didn't it? Fell apart. That fell apart.
Because like Betsy and Tammy and we're all up sportsmen, like if you have areas that can all check on each other at least, I don't know, some kind of, like when I was teaching, we had snow chains that you called everybody.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Once upon a time, when we first got the equipment from the Red Cross, these cots and blankets and things, 5, 6, 7 of us went to a program that Red Cross put on in Reedboro. I think Nancy went, Joan and I went. Some of those people aren't with us anymore.
Rosemary,
Rosemary Curran, I'll think of it. But, and the understanding was if we had an emergency, these were the people who were trained or, expected that we would
get in touch with people.
get in touch with people. And a year or so ago, a couple of people got together with me and we went through and we inventoried the trailer to see what kind of condition things were in. And what kind of things we might consider needing or adding to it. We had a couple couple of chairs, so that once you set the pop-up tent that has walls and such, that then the range of emergencies that you might have to deal with are anything from radioactive material that was spilled on the road, and you're gonna isolate and decontaminate people as they come in and go through a tent before you let them in the building. It's been a long time. All he knows about that kind of stuff, you know?
This is where we need like a community center, right? That has a kitchen in it, a bathroom, you know, a place where people hang out, have coffee.
Yeah.
Also making the energy.
And
Take care of it.
It's hard to have, I'll be
But
there at hours, also.
At this time, the closest thing we have to that is that gym.
Right.
We do
Or-
have a bathroom in it.
so.
I mean, does it have to be a municipal building? I mean, can we coordinate with the church?
We could, that's what St. Elizabeth does.
Right, but I mean, the Stanford Church,
Oh,
they have
that's
a
what I'm saying,
kitchen,
we could,
they have
sure.
a
Yeah.
great room
That's a good idea.
downstairs.
I mean, that would sound.
So I'm going to push one more thing. And I'm asking you not to send out any letters to anyone for emergency management director or emergency management coordinator, because I don't intend to take an appointment. I've done this for close on to 40 years. And my own personal health considerations over the last couple of years are such, I don't have the strength to really respond very well with the fire department. I don't have the strength to stay up for 12 or 14 hours to help supervise something here. I'm leaning on and depending on 40 years of experience, both as a firefighter and as an emergency responder, and all of the education that we took, which goes back to Yankee Row. We've got to find somebody new to pick this up. And I'd be happy to sit with the group of you with an executive session at the point that you have some candidates. I have some feelings about it and some of the things that we've got to talk to. In the next couple of weeks, we've got to come up and re-sign our emergency response plan. Right now, Nancy, perhaps Doug, are the only people I know of who have taken an ICS course, Incident Command System course, to have the authority and qualification to sign that. I've talked to the select board over the past 2 years about taking a 3-hour online course for IC 100. There's a NIMS course that runs closer to 400. The difference, ICS is Incident Command, it's for the local activity that's happening, responding to an immediate emergency. And it's the kind of thing that's broken down to operations like the fire department, who's doing it, who's planning for it as to what we're gonna do, logistics of who's gonna bring food and the pizza and whatever, and an accounting financial arm of it. Underneath the incident commander is a public information officer, which we don't have, but we ought to have for somebody, appoint somebody to speak for the town. You certainly don't want 3 or 4 different people speaking for the town in a set of an emergency. So I don't know where we start to go beyond telling people in town, out of the minutes and whatever, that we're looking for emergency management personnel. I will bring it up next Monday at the firehouse at the monthly meeting. It's always served me well to have the kind of communication and relationship that I have with the fire department, because in fact, they're the first responders. They're the people we're gonna lean on. This community emergency response program is something that you don't have to go to a national thing, a national standards, but the idea of having a group of people in town who feel they're able and willing to come and help with that kind of situation is something we want to pursue.
Did you, is this the first you've talked to anybody where have you mentioned it to anybody in the fire department?
No.
So you don't have any person in mind or anything like that?
I wouldn't try to bring somebody's name up here without having talked to them. As a courtesy, because she's worked with me for years, I talked to Sheila Lawrence, told her what I was going to do. You know, our first response was, does that mean I've gotta step up and, you know, take this? And, you know, though she's interested and she travels with me for some of the training and meetings, she says, you know, I don't mind traveling locally, but I'm not gonna be able to go anywhere for distance. She doesn't have the help to take on this kind of thing. And over the years, with her responsibilities and her children, her grandchildren, she's not gone to doing any of these training courses, so she's not prepared to get back on this right now. So I'm not happy with dumping this on you, but this is the place and the time to do it.
Oh, it's,
Thanks, Bill, your level of dedication will be like impossible to replace, so.
I mean, I don't mind spending as much time over the next you know, several months or, you know, with whoever wants to take on the job.
Apprenticeship,
Hmm?
an apprenticeship?
well,
A mentorship.
now's the, that's what I mean, you wanna do it now, you don't wanna wait and wait and wait, and then
No.
we're in big trouble. Yeah, it's a young person's job, it's a lot of,
important role.
it's a lot of work.
Doesn't FEMA set up things like this for towns and cities?
They have coursework, there's all kinds of courses online.
But the problem is personnel, that's the.
They don't come here right away either.
Oh, no, I'm just thinking for a long-range plan,
People are the biggest thing, we have to
if
have.
you gotta make a
dedicated-
plan, wouldn't they be a good resource?
You know, we've gone down this conversation of every position in this town, whether it was a board member on a zoning board, or the, what do they call it, people that do the listers, the listers, or in every board, every department we talk about, the age, average age is way up here, and we don't have this new group. Hate to pick on the younger generation, we don't see
Yeah,
that.
they gotta find somebody,
I mean, there's a state office of emergency operations, you know, and that's my ultimate fallback. Worst case is I've got a number for the state watch officer, or somebody who either carries a pager or is on duty 24/7, who can marshal whoever, whether it's National Guard, depending, you know, how severe it is.
It's real bad, yeah.
This is one of those positions in town you need to be fairly dedicated for. right?
Sure do.
It's not just, I mean, there's some.
You know,
things that
we've
you
actually
volunteer
talked
for,
about
not
the
be
fire
ready
department.
for it, and-
All volunteer fire departments, that exact same thing I just said, that age is going this way, it's not, there's not that, or when I was young, all our fathers said, come on, kid, join the fire department, we had a waiting list.
I think the last time Paul looked, the average firefighter age right now is about 57.
In this town, or?
In this town.
Yeah.
Well, schools don't teach anything like civics or, you know, ethics or anything like that anymore, you see the classes, right? No one understands.
I mean, seriously,
Governmental function,
when I was on the Clarksburg Fire Department, I bought a house in North Adams, they politely shook my hand and said, thank you for your service, but you have to step down. You don't live in town, and there's a waiting list for people to get on. There was 40 members on that department.
We're happy that more than a third of our current firefighters do not live in Stamford.
Yeah, I mean, you had to, and all volunteer departments have opened the doors to anybody, but we don't care where you live, come on in, you
The
know.
focus in society is probably been more about just joining the rat race and trying to get ahead rather than taking a little time for civic duty or anything like
Not
that.
here, because, you know,
So anytime that you wanna sit down as a group or individually, I'll be happy to discuss it and, you know, point some directions. In the interim, if you go online and look for NIMS, N-I-M-S, or ICS,
It was yelling at us again.
well, you yelled at me last year at this. I keep saying, I wanna do this, and then I kinda forget in a week or two. I mean, I have no problem going online and doing it.
well, that's why I, you know, that's why I'd like to talk to you kind of in executive session, once we see who might be interested. Because I've had people over the past couple of years raise their hand, me, I want to be involved in emergency management, fine. the next meeting is 3 weeks from now. Yeah, I'll be there. And I looked up and I found out about the course, and I'll sign up for the training, and that was the last I heard from them.
So the big thing is we need help, we need some volunteers that can help set this up. Let us know.
Yep.
Because there, I mean, look, we've had 3 of these incidents now.
Yeah. You know, at the fire department, and, you know, if we hadn't had Dave come and cut a tree,
Yeah.
we wouldn't have, we might have gotten one pickup truck up to that chimney fire, we never would have gotten a fire truck
Mhm.
there.
So what happens, you know, that incident, what happens, the power company didn't shut the power off, they didn't go there. Now you got a fire up there, now what do you do?
Burns.
Right, you know what I'm saying?
Not a damn
This
thing.
is, what's the
We
next
do.
step, that they don't show up at all, you know?
Probably would go 4-wheel or whatever.
We
way
have
to
to
get
send
up
them
there.
that letter, we have to push this.
Yeah, point out all of that
That's
stuff.
a good
But I
question.
can't go up there with, you know, the 10-gallon backpacks.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure,
Of
so
water.
all
Well,
Yeah.
sign by-
If, I know you can of worms, I'm opening up more.
She needs to go fishing, she needs.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Mill Road, of course, seems to be the issue in a lot of these emergencies because there's only one way in and one way out. At least, unless it's the dry part of the summer. Are we going to address that this year? Is that something we can bring to the forefront on access out of that way for,
We gave back all the excess funds.
Well, we have,
You know, just as a point of fact, one chimney fire, when the tree was down at Henry Hill, our first response was, okay, we'll go the long way and over Klondike. And Dave said, oh, but there's a tree down across the road at Steve Mullet's house, so you aren't gonna get through there either.
okay.
I mean, we have some backup direction
sure,
of access, but,
but there's Lincoln Road, Sumner Road,
yeah,
Glacier Road, Boulder Road, they're all dead end
Yeah,
One way in.
dirt
yeah, that's
roads.
true,
Yeah,
that's
you know,
true.
Base Road,
Mhm.
You know,
Bridges.
to get people, to save people and get them out, you can use, you know, ATVs and stuff, but to actually put a fire out, you know, it's not easy to put a house fire out with, you know, portable
So-
pump.
at your convenience, if you wanna have another meeting on the side, outside of a public meeting, I'd be happy to come.
But just,
Well, we need people.
Well, we
I have
need,
people.
we need to fill his shoes, that's the most important.
Yeah, you need somebody to volunteer for that.
just Longview for a second, hopefully beyond all our lifetimes, but Mill Road itself should be a conversation.
Yeah.
And why we gave back some road right of ways and stuff, I wish I was paying more attention then, but it's crazy beyond me why we gave some roads back.
As a by the way in passing, I think Nancy and Laurie both got copies. There is a webinar at 2 p.m. on Monday, the 25th, about the emergency management plan that we have to sign off for the town. And they're going to talk about those things.
Oh, with Dara Zink,
I'm sorry?
with Dara Zink,
I think
Is that-
Dara sent out the note.
is that the one, she's having some public hearing, or it's gotta be a public hearing?
Oh, no, that's hazard mitigation.
Okay,
That's the one I got.
that's the one I was thinking of too, okay, what was this one?
This is, maybe it came to me for emergency management.
Yeah, I don't think I got it.
I'll have to see who sent it. This is a webinar that I think the LCT is putting on, or else Vermont Emergency Management is putting on, as to what should go into your emergency management plan,
I didn't
your
see
local
it.
emergency management plan. Okay, I'll go back to my email and get back to you.
Okay. Well, a lot to think about, big letters, Lori, in the minutes, we need help, especially, anything else, emergency management, guys?
I think that is enough on it.
Result of town meeting. I think it was very well handled, very calm. a little bit confusing with the school part and voting and that, but,
Yeah, a lot of people got up and left, they didn't stay for the
They
school.
never,
part.
they never, they always do that, get up and leave.
I thought it ran pretty smooth. One thing I wish is there was a lot more people on some topics that had their hands up still. But I wish I had a chance to say whatever it is they have to say. I
I
hear
think-
sometimes we cut things short just because we're watching the clock and trying to get out of there, but
no.
That's why when they said move the question, I voted no, and everybody looked at me like, what are you doing voting no? It wasn't that I was voting no on the issue, I didn't wanna move the question because people had their hands up still.
I understood that once you did.
And I was the only I was the only guy, everybody's like, what's he doing? And I'm like,
Let's give Paul
oh, I
a
think Bob did
buy
a
on
great,
this
yeah, no,
first go around,
you did.
because it really does take a lot to pay attention to the conversation, to watch all the hands, and some of them that are 8 rows back. And I've certainly taken, you know, enough advice in the past when I said, okay, let's go on to the motion, and somebody says, wait, you missed this person, that person.
Right.
So, it's something to probably discuss with Paul, that it's got to be looked at more
Sure.
carefully in the future.
I mean, I thought he did a great
He
job.
did,
He did an
phenomenal
excellent
job
job.
for his first time doing it, I'm not knocking him at all. But I wish that people, I'm like you, wish people understood the process. When they say move the question, and everybody's like, that's, we're not voting on the question. There's 3 people out there with their hands up, slow down.
Mhm. Yeah.
So we get out of it at 9:30 instead of 9, so what? Slow down. I wish people
We'll
did
do that
that.
till 10:30.
Yeah,
Well, I looked into that, the statutes and everything. And actually, after a question has been moved, as long as you haven't moved on to the next topic,
discuss it.
you can bring it,
Reconsider it.
you can reconsider it.
Right.
And I think, had I known that before, I would have asked to reconsider what just
In
happened.
fairness, this
Yeah.
used to be stated at the beginning of each town meeting. And that's experience, and I didn't go to the webinar for moderators.
Well, Paul, Lori, and I sat here, wow, all the things you can do under a motion and the stuff. There was a whole page of the terminology, and wow, we've never
lot.
done that before.
It's a lot.
Move the question, reconsider, table,
I thought he
Language I
added a
never
little,
heard
he
of.
added a little humor in there to keep.
Sure,
everybody
yeah,
moving.
you have to.
Yeah, that
but
was-
maybe, I think maybe next year if we set it up different, that we could see everybody, because I couldn't see everybody where I was sitting.
Well, when you were all the way to that
Yes.
blind spot on him. I
Yeah,
saw,
I
I saw
didn't-
it, and
I didn't see
she's
you
got her
there.
hand up.
Well, there was several people. One of the other, I mean, people had a lot of questions about the speed radar signs as well.
Right.
The sheriff.
We probably ought to explain to people, if you think you've been passed over, stand up and say something. Right then and there, shout it, point of order, I haven't finished, you didn't call on me yet.
Right.
That's not easy for some people to do, but
Or, you know, if they spoke once, okay, I understand what he was trying to do, you speak once, but not this back and forth with you talking to you in the audience, and that he seemed to keep control of.
And
And let
are
them just-
people allowed to actually stand up and speak at a podium?
no.
That was very.
That
was
almost
somebody
spoke
who
That's-
went out
with
of turn
authority,
and
you
out of
know?
place.
Right,
Your
okay.
presentation.
Yeah, I
You
didn't,
He had no
Usually-
right to a presentation, he had no right to a podium, and Paul didn't have enough experience to tell him,
No,
talk from the floor, here's a microphone.
I think Paul was just taken aback, because I looked back at him.
So I came up, he
looked-
did kind
just
of push himself up,
Yes.
said, I can't, I have to use the podium.
But in the past, anyone that wanted to talk, they usually come up front, but now we have the microphones going around, but people could come up front, not behind the table or not at the podium, but they stood in front of the
I
podium.
don't think it will ever happen again on Paul's watch.
Yeah,
Why not have like a separate podium for people asking questions that they can go up to if they have the paperwork?
Like in the back.
It's like in the, down like in the middle of the
Good
you know,
idea.
the runway kind of idea.
yep.
Because then
The runway.
then
the
you've got
runway, you
your
know, the
notes, you
walkway.
can,
You've got your notes and then it's just faster than trying to send more, you know,
That's what she was running
here and
around
there and
like
everywhere
that,
else.
you know?
And also people just,
They didn't
would
want
run
the
over
mic.
and they didn't wanna use it.
Right.
And some people don't
Yeah.
like to speak in the mic either,
Exactly,
even,
but if
even
they-
if you bring it to them.
Even if they're standing up at the front and there's not a mic, they're more visible, it's not like they're speaking from the
Right.
back.
And they can queue up also, like,
Correct.
I could get behind him if I had a question.
Yes.
It's hard to hear.
Lean forward for next year.
Yeah, I mean, that's one good thing they do at the school board meetings, if you're a visitor, you get up, you go up to the
Yeah.
podium and you talk, you don't talk in the audience like that.
And the COVID year where it was out in the tent, we did that too.
Yeah.
Because it was hard to hear outside.
Then you won't have that back and forth, you can't. Guys up at the
You
podium.
can't let that start,
Right.
because it's impossible to pull it back in again.
That's all, I just.
I mean, Paul did state at one point at least, if not more than twice, whatever conversation you have is directed to me as the
Personal.
moderator.
Yes.
Yep.
That was
We'll
good.
Try and limit some of this back and forth kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
I've seen it a lot worse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it went
did a
very
good job
well.
overall.
Yeah,
Let's see
I think
about
he did
this
a
and
great
anything
job.
else.
definitely was.
Okay, anything else on town meeting? No? I think voting, I didn't see during the day, but counting votes, it was a long night, but it
Midnight.
seemed very well organized, it
Tell you
was
one thing.
quiet enough in here, and
I'll tell you one thing, this town ought to be proud of themselves with its voter turnout percentage wise. And
Unbelievable.
then I saw the numbers of the voters versus the active voters. So this, what was it, 7 something, that's actually down to 6 something. It's active voters, so that brings your percentage up to almost 60%.
I was gonna say 60%, that's good.
60%, you don't get that in any town, ever. I mean, that's amazing that
I
we
think
have
it's
that.
the presidential primary plus the races that we
Yeah,
had.
it's just
contest
a
races.
testimony of people
Oh,
getting involved.
I would say it was the select board race that drove the vote because it was less people that voted for president.
Yeah,
Ah,
So it was
okay.
the select board race that drove the
Okay.
vote.
But it was, I tell you, this town should be, actually just be proud of everybody involved. That was awesome to see that turnout.
Okay, next item, sign extension denial. Okay, we went back to, this is about the sign that's out front, we went back to the ZBA and asked for a waiver, no, variance in January. They denied the variance and they, sent the board a letter saying that we had to remove the sign by January 28th. And then they came back in February and said, well, let me back up again. We asked the board that we wanted to investigate, something with, we wanted to go to the Judicial Bureau. Is that the one,
Yep.
or
Yes.
something? And I started filling out the
Oh,
paperwork.
the
for it,
environmental court.
And it was
Yeah.
gonna cost us a lot of money, a lot of paperwork, and we didn't have really a leg to stand on because the ZBA followed their rules. So,
Where are we gonna put the sign?
so anyway, the ZBA said they will uphold the decision to remove the sign by January 28th, 2024. And a copy of this letter was sent to Deb as administrative officer.
I saw it. Yeah.
So,
I got it.
there we are.
This is the second letter in
I'm
response
ignoring
to asking for an extension of the date,
Yes,
and they said no.
correct.
Correct.
Yeah, they,
I think we burnt all bridges as far as the sign goes.
Burn them, blew them up.
Well, I have a question.
Sign's still there.
It's
Now,
the same.
I know that the select board can make a change to the bylaws, removing, the compliance with municipalities for certain bylaws. So we talked about this way in the beginning. Why can't we unscrew the sign, take the panel down,
Change
change the
bylaw,
bylaw,
put it back up.
put it back up? I mean, have we looked at that? Is that just so simple
We
crazy?
mentioned it a bunch
I know,
of
we
times.
talked about it a lot.
Change the bylaw.
Yeah,
Jeb,
I think it's going to be, I think we definitely need to have a municipal rule, because it's just this sign, but then what other signs that
The
are,
church
which it can be
is-
continued on.
Yeah.
And if we wanna keep our town together, it will become, this person's attacking this person kind of situation. So I think we do need a municipal, kind of like, plus, if you're gonna say
Like
the
it is.
letters have to be this high, there's no way you're ever gonna have another sign that's gonna be 12 square feet.
No,
It's gonna be bigger. It's gotta be bigger.
yes,
So
I agree
these
with
things
that.
need to be done, to kind of catch up with the times. And I
agree
think
with
it's
that.
gonna just, it's something that needs to happen.
If
The other 50% of the town doesn't agree with that.
Right.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying, but there's a vast, at least half the other people don't agree that the town should be exempt from the bylaws.
that's why I'm saying, take it down, change the bylaws,
Yeah.
put it back up.
Start the process right from the
Start the
beginning. Go to
process
the
over.
planning commission
And
or-
the challenge that I had is, it's, the footprint is, so if you take the sign off, do you still, are the posts considered the footprint?
I mentioned that, and I thought
Yeah.
you actually said yes. that
Well,
take the
I
post
I
off.
did, and then I looked
And you-
into.
yeah, and that's what I don't want,
Yeah.
I don't wanna get that deep into this. you know?
I looked deeper into it, and again, my God, you can talk to so many people in the government, and you're gonna get variations of
I
opinions.
think you did, Deb, because BCRC said you need a permit.
They-
Okay, so.
And so did the
then-
VLCT.
Right, and then
Mhm.
BCRC said, now what's the footprint? I mean, they're
Yeah.
telling you
Yep.
one thing right in the beginning, and now they're changing. It's
Yep.
like two lawyers, two different opinions.
Exactly.
I agree that it
If this,
should come down.
if this was not a municipality, it was a private business or whatever, and they were in violation,
Mhm.
and they were ordered to take it down on a date, and past that date now, what would your job be to do?
I've never had to do this, so
Okay.
I need to figure that out. I know that I have to send a
That's what I'm
letter.
getting at.
I have to send a
Back
letter
this
and then
showing us
fines,
this.
and then it's, I'm sure Ron had to
There's
do
a
it.
lot of letters in the
There are
cabinet.
letters, yep.
So there could be a.
There's a fine, you have to fine yourself.
Right, so now
Yes.
we find the town fines the town.
The town fines the town.
Let's just say it's
Yep.
$100, and the town pays the town $100,
Mhm.
and then the $100 goes back into the town through that board, back into this, and back, so
Yeah.
this is silliness.
Do that for the
It
lake
is.
sign.
If the ultimate goal is, and this is what I know people don't like the sign, that's not the issue.
Right,
Like I said, add some more stuff, saying school and town hall, and we can add to it, make it better, not take it down. If we take this down and we never change the bylaws, that means, I agree with you, we will never, ever have another sign.
we can't.
Mm-mm.
What a shame, okay, that's
Well,
a shame.
we can have a little sign and it's gotta go
But then
back.
it's a
Right.
safety hazard.
Yeah.
Then it's a
I
safety
literally
hazard, so we
went
can't.
through this with my shop in North Adams. So I have a little sign over my door that says Deerfield Machine and Tool. It's a lot of letters. And it's this big, because it wouldn't let me have a big sign.
Right.
Masmoka got Masmoka with no permits, but I had this little sign. That's beside the point. You can't see it, nobody knows, it
Right.
doesn't really affect me, but it does this school. But if the ultimate goal is to take it down, change the bylaws, put it back up, in the words of my good friend Dave Tatro, that's silly.
It is silly. But-
It's silly, right? If that's the case, and we're not getting fined, and why do we take it down? Just change the bylaws.
Well, I agree with you. I follow your logic. I'm just saying to try to appease both sides.
So we're not gonna.
Could the
both
appeasement be
sides.
the
This
fine?
is the 50.
I-
Like, no, they didn't take it out, so they're getting fined.
I
But
just
we
don't
won't
wanna
take
hear
bylaws.
that
Yeah, give me money
again,
here.
Mike.
I made that
The
argument,
biggest
right?
argument was that the town should be held to the standard that everybody else.
And we did it.
So, well, then we should
Change the
not just
standards.
leave it up, and if,
I get it, yep.
take it down, change the
50-50
standards,
argument.
put it back up.
Whether the
It's a
town's
few
exempt
bullets.
From bylaws or not, right, basically.
I don't
But
think we
some-
are. I don't
some
think we
such
are.
good idea.
We're not exempt at all.
No, we're not,
No,
but
we should be.
most municipalities are.
Most of them.
That's
Most
the point I'm
ones,
yes.
trying to-
And
that's
that's-
what I'm trying to make, it's like a 50/50.
That's why Bass Mocha was an entity of the city. They're not owned by anybody else, the city owns them. It's an
Okay,
institution
that's, so they were
owned by
able to,
the city, exempt from the rules.
Yeah.
Cause I looked into it, I'm like, you guys just put up signs that are bigger than my building,
yeah,
they're exempt.
right.
So same thing here, most municipalities are exempt from bylaws.
From all kinds of laws.
Right.
I just think if you leave it up and change the bylaws while the sign is left up, you're gonna hear that same drumbeat over
You're
and
right,
over.
you're right. So we take,
I don't know.
six volts out.
Yeah, it is silly.
My point
It's
is, I don't know that we
stupid.
avoid the drum beat either way.
Is it bolted on there?
It's not, we're not gonna avoid
I
the
think
drum beat.
I don't know how it's.
I think it's just bolted,
I think it's
panel,
bolted.
each board holds
Well,
on.
well, Kurt, what would be your solution? I'm serious.
There isn't really a solution to this. There's two solutions. We either change the bylaws or we take the sign down. Those are the two solutions.
But I'm saying you
That's
can
the
do
law.
both,
That's
and you
what
can
we're
put it
trying
back
to
up.
decide.
So let's look at it like this, nevertheless, whether we go with your path or we take the sign down, either way, the sign's gotta come down for at least some time.
Yeah,
Correct?
we have a meeting, I think we're trying to get
Why?
a meeting,
Because
either you gotta
in order
take it
to change
down.
your by, well, this is what I'm
You
saying.
can't
But
change
this-
the bylaw with the sign out.
That's
Well,
what
it's-
I'm,
it
I
looks
don't know,
like,
and
it
the
makes
drum-
an alarm.
and the drum did
it doesn't look right.
It's causing an
No.
extra ripple if you don't want.
Yeah, it doesn't look right.
yeah, it looks like
It's
we're
just
trying to get
it's
away
just
with
that Now we
something.
gotta hire
Yeah.
somebody to take it down.
No, you
Well,
don't
that's
have to
it.
hire somebody, good lord.
That's interesting.
I will come down with my tools and take it down.
Yes, we all have,
You can't vote on
we,
it, no action.
many
We
of
gotta hire
us
somebody
in
to take
town
the
have
sign.
lots of,
We gotta have somebody to
tools.
store the sign, and then we gotta hire somebody to put the sign back.
no,
up.
we don't have to hire anybody, it's called
Can't
volunteerism.
hear anyway.
So why don't
we
we
all-
volunteer?
We can put the sign right here
Yep.
and store it.
I hear you,
The sign should be stored right where it is if we're gonna change the bylaws. Either that or we take it down.
I'm having a tough time taking it down at all.
I am too, I think it's,
I hear what you're saying.
Fancy that, and then we enact it cheap.
I almost resigned over this because I'm like, I'm not gonna enforce this, it's crazy.
Bill,
Yeah,
Town bylaws were put in place by the town. Have a special town meeting, ask for permission to exempt municipal signs retroactively by a vote of the town. Since the town established the laws, the town should be able to bypass the laws.
I don't agree with that process, because we're stepping on the toes of the planning commission. The planning commission does the plans first, and then it goes to the public hearing,
well,
and then it goes select board.
here's what I think though is, I think planning commission did their job. I have nothing to say bad about it, they did their job, okay? What Bill's saying is, this board has the authority to
You do,
change a bylaw.
you do.
Okay, this board, we voted that bylaws in, we did. We asked the zoning board for their input, they spent many days, years, months, whatever, and they gave us their recommendation, but we ultimately are the ones that voted it in.
Mhm.
Now, we did have town, we had to post it for the town. to
Public
have
hearing,
Public
yeah.
hearing. If we change the bylaws, like Doug said, do we have to have that public hearing?
You know.
I'm not sure
I
for
think you should.
individuals, I think if you're going to do a sweeping change with a bylaw, but Lori, do you know, like, certain, does it have to be?
I
Okay.
think it should be, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the process is the process.
Did you have a question?
Probably, it probably needs to be a public
I
hearing.
personally think that, you know, we all know where this all went, but I think the select board did their due diligence by following the rules. The zoning board, same thing, they followed the rules. Debs followed the rules. The rules are followed, if we have to take it down, so be it. But I just think, Dave said, what's in the best interest for this town? A sign or no sign? Now, if we were to take a vote right now, seriously, don't worry about whether or not you like the sign or not, what's in the best interest of this town? Should we have a sign, or shouldn't we?
We should have a sign.
Yeah, we need
Anybody
it.
think we shouldn't have a sign? No. And if I was at a town meeting and I said, is there anyone, don't be a smart ass, is there anyone out there think we shouldn't have a sign on our town hall and school? And I doubt very much you'd have one or two people just be wise guys and go, yeah, we shouldn't have a sign. But ultimately, 99% of the people would say, we should have a sign. How do we get that sign? If we take the sign down and we follow the rules, we'll never have a sign. We can't put the old sign up, that's a violation. We can't ever have a sign.
Can't go farther down the hill. It's
So
supposed to go.
where do we go from here? We have to change the bylaws. We must.
Or get rid of the sign.
Or does
That's
the
the
sign,
choice.
That's not the best interest
No,
of the town.
I'm just saying, those are the choices.
Take
does the
it down.
sign have to be here? Aren't there other locations? Maybe that would be compatible? with
Imagine
the
that,
laws?
Doug, where do you think
Where?
you would put the sign?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking.
It's not in
Anybody got
compliance,
any ideas?
regardless of where we put it, the sign's too big.
What do you mean now?
Put it like down like
Oh,
the
this,
driveway.
because it just says Stanford?
Stanford or
Well,
whatever, you can put
When you
signs
say,
pointing
have,
to it.
where do you want the sign to be though?
That's what I'm asking, are there other locations that we could possibly put it?
On this property?
Not necessarily on this property, somewhere else in town.
Not that sign is
Too big.
Right, but
Or
there,
it's too big,
Right,
any place.
no matter what. So that, and that sign just says Stanford, Vermont, okay? But what, let's just say we could, that sign could go down on Belmont's or something. Say we could.
Mhm.
What do we do here when people drive by and say, where's the school, where's the town hall, where's the library? Where do I check my gear in? What, you know, that's the problem is we need a sign out there. We've had many people stop and go, we don't know. And that's one of the complaints about that sign. I agree with that.
I do.
The
Yeah,
sign,
that doesn't tell you
the sign
anything.
is not fulfilled.
Yeah.
It needs more to it. And we can't have it now. I wanna make it bigger,
Bigger.
put more stuff on it. But the bottom line is, in the best interest of the town, if someone's driving by and they wanna stop, Laurie's got a appointment with a lawyer and he drives by because he doesn't know where it is, you know? Can't always count on GPS. We should be able to have a sign out there that says, this is what we have. We should be proud of this town and proud of this building and say, this is where we're at. That, to me, that's my opinion. I mean, this is not, like, if we wanna vote on something, you know, if we wanna make a motion and vote on it, we can. That's the thing. This board is stronger than you think.
Good.
We tell Dave all the time, you're not gonna make everybody happy.
No, I mean.
We're not gonna make everybody happy on this issue.
I wanna
I
follow,
promise you.
I wanna follow the rules. I don't agree that everything that comes around should go to a town vote. I mean, the town had a
Then why
vote
are we
2 days
here?
ago, and the 5 of us are here.
Right.
That was the vote for some things.
And
Now, there's some
absolutely,
things that need to go to a town vote. I just don't know if this needs to go through a public hearing process. I wanna follow the letter of the law to do
If
it.
somebody
Well,
didn't
this-
go
this-
by the letter of the law, we wouldn't be having this issue.
Correct.
This whole idea
Correct,
that
I
everything
agree.
needs to go to a town vote,
Yeah.
is ridiculous. The part being, Ally,
All these.
the part being, what you just said, is that the spirit behind this whole sign thing is ill-natured, all right? It's about a personal vendetta that the town's been dealing with for a year now, at
Well,
substantial
it
financial
became
cost.
that, can I just say, it became that after the fact.
Well, let me show you an
Because
example.
it was done with the spirit of volunteerism, it was done with the committee, and I wasn't part of this committee, but I know people who were, that went to the authority and were told by the authority in town that they did not need a permit. There were meetings after meetings after meetings about the sign, the design of the sign. This all didn't happen until after the sign was in, planted, etc.
Correct.
So the ill will came afterwards.
Right, I agree.
Oh,
I
yeah,
totally
but
agree.
let me show you a good example. Deb, do I need a permit for the benches out there
For the benches?
that they put up?
No.
Okay. So now let's keep going now. Deb, did you put that in writing?
Oh, there you go.
See what just happened?
No, I had to
So
do this
that's what happened with this
recently.
damn sign.
This-
They went to the guy,
This, yes, yep,
he said no, and they moved on.
they moved on.
That's what
Yeah.
happened.
That is what happened.
So I don't believe anybody's lying. It wouldn't make
Oh, I don't
sense.
think so
So when
either.
someone says, well, he never said that, I don't care. That's what happened, and this is where we're at because a man that doesn't even work here anymore, which I'd love to bring him in here and ask him, did you actually say, no, they don't need it? If he did, then why are we going through this? That's like David digging a ditch a half inch too deep. And 2 months later, the state comes down. We're gonna go behind him and stand behind, he works for us. The same thing with Ryan, when he did this, we stood behind, we should stand behind his decision. He said no, you didn't need it. To come out later on is craziness, it's crazy. And they'll take the sign down forever, it's crazy, that's my opinion.
This is a
And
whole
there's a lot
can
of
of
people
worms.
that I know are gonna be mad at me for
It's
that.
just a whole can of worms we should have never touched.
Right.
Because it's just creating personal vendettas that could go on forever. There's been so
Yeah.
many permit violations in this town.
Mm.
It's ridiculous to go down this
Well, we
road.
shouldn't go down it.
I think Jay had.
Jeff?
I think we do have to at least take it down, and then change the rules, because if we just we change the rules and don't take it down, then it can be considered we are like, you know, it's just, we're taking care of ourselves versus.
We've gone down this
doing-
road so
right.
deep now,
It
we might as
just-
well keep going.
It just seems like it would be the one thing that could make everyone say, okay, it is now complete. And then change the rules, put it back up, and then everything from there on in, nobody can say anything about anything.
Right.
Because you did what they wanted you to do.
Well, we just changed the rules, so 50% of the town is gonna be very upset.
Oh, there's still gonna be.
Right.
Oh,
I mean, everyone's, but at least you can curb some of it because it's been done.
Oh, you know, it's just something, yeah, but
Oh, I have water.
nevertheless, it's gonna be the same.
I'm good, I got my little refillable
Whatever.
Do you need more?
in a minute.
But at least her thing is that we didn't follow the rules.
Okay, and I don't even care who it was, that's not the point anymore to me. The point is, I'm gonna keep saying it, what's in the best interest of the town? If we have to go down that road, we've already gone, geez, I tell you, Jed, you've seen it, we've been what?
A
6
year?
months now, a
Yeah,
year, I don't know.
It's
how
insane.
I'm like you, I'm getting a headache over
I
something that
just-
we
yeah.
shouldn't be a headache.
Maybe at the end of the meeting, we can go and see how many volts there are and how possible it is. to
Okay,
fix
so
it.
we take the
person
sign
that
down,
put in
the
the
post
complaint came
still
back in
stand up
May,
there?
Mhm.
7 months
Yeah.
after the.
Yes.
Because they're saying take the sign down. They're not saying take the uprights down, they're taking the
I
sign
don't
down.
think we should bring that can of worms up, even though it's in a minute. Just take the damn sign down. Say,
Lori,
if
turn
they-
off the.
Let them send us let them send us a letter and say it's not completely down.
Well, do we have a post rule in town? I
We
mean,
don't wanna
No.
ruin the, we don't wanna
No.
ruin things. You wanna-
Concrete footing.
You want me to take my excavator and go over and crash
If you
it?
take the sign down, I will put a flag on those remaining posts.
Right, it's in
And they will be
compliance.
flag poles.
It's in
Oh,
compliance.
good idea,
There you go.
good idea.
And
Excellent.
then let them bitch about it.
We need a permit for it.
For what? I am not saying a word.
Oh, Dave.
Yes.
Why don't we just make it into a bench? You just see that.
Huh?
Why don't we just make it into a bench? Just that's the
Put the letters on the back.
There you go.
You want to send a letter as?
Well,
All right.
oh my God.
So what are we doing?
If we have to take it down, everybody agree with that issue?
Yeah, so we need to make a
So we
motion
make a
to take the
motion
sign
to
down.
take the sign
So
down.
where are we gonna put it?
Well, let's hold on for a second. Discussion. Before we go any further. If we take it down, first of all, who takes it down? Is there, well, I'm looking right at them, yeah. I know.
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah,
Is it, I think it's more, it's like multiple panels. I don't think it's one big sign. I'm not positive. I think
I
there's
haven't
like,
looked at it,
I
but I
think
think
there's
it's unbolted from the footings,
okay.
oh, can you?
I think.
Yeah, I think it's got a steel frame.
Can I bolt it from the
Yeah,
foot?
well, we'll figure it out.
Put the-
I'll help you if we need to, because I gotta take the damn Christmas tree down before it's Easter
I
anyway.
think we should put a board on the back side and call it a bench, personally.
There you go.
There you go. I like
I don't know
that.
why that should be such a big deal. On the back side of the bench, it says Stanford, Vermont.
Well, maybe we can redesign it
That's what I
before
would
we
do.
put it.
It'll take long to build
If
it.
it was my sign, I'd find a way to beat you guys.
Garage, you can put some more.
Give us a break here, big guy. Look at, by the time you build the bench, the sign will be down.
It's still 35 feet from the center. of
Well, yeah, so let's just say we got taken down, okay? And you're right, where do we put it? Okay, so I don't know where we're gonna put it. we have already given permission for one sign to go into a private home, which I was not very, I'm not big into that. We'll go, there's another whole discussion about putting town things on private property. We're gonna have trouble down the road.
Do we have a storage
Yeah,
area where we put our stuff?
Well, we don't even have storage for our historical stuff right now, it's in the closet.
In the janitor's
They
room.
want us to
Yeah,
move, so.
I can barely get into my little
Historical stuff,
filing
stuff
cabinet
that- no,
over
like
there.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool stuff.
I don't
Is there
care where
room
we
in the
put the
garage?
damn thing,
Is
if you
there a
wanna
spot
put it
over
in
there?
there, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't care where to put it, let's try not to ruin it.
Yeah,
on the
no,
wall.
cover it and-
Guys, you can't kind of leave it outside.
Okay, you can leave it outside.
True.
cover
It's
it
outside now, right?
True.
Yeah.
We could bring it back here or put it on the bench.
Put it up against the building?
Still too big. There's multiple violations.
Yeah,
sorry?
please. Did we get the permit for the generator?
Did we,
Get a permit for the generator?
no,
We've got a permit for that.
I don't never get permits.
The
There's been so
generator-
many permit violations that this was a crazy road to even go down. That we need to, if we're gonna enforce.
There's signs out there right now that are
Ground zero,
violations.
we move forward.
Get a precedent, we don't get permits.
on the other hand, we made the phone company
Right.
get a permit.
Okay, so that's way back, if we can't enforce the law, get rid of it.
Exactly.
Simple as that, and that's what we're gonna do.
Well,
We're gonna change the bylaws and get rid of that law.
A lot of that is ignored, is a precedent, because you got some people that, oh, we gotta stop, right?
So we got a little sign out there that says library, right? Small sign.
Yeah,
It's too close to the
it's
road.
too close.
Oh, it's way
But
too
it's-
close.
but it says
That's
library.
okay.
And we got another sign over here, that white thing there, that people,
Yeah.
that's
That was
probably
never,
too big.
never
and too close,
permitted.
Right?
Yes.
So, no,
What would they-
I mean, those,
What thing?
there's a,
Yeah,
It's
where
like
you,
a telecommunication
Oh, welcome
box.
back, welcome back, students.
oh, did
oh,
it?
that was a
Okay.
permit?
From the state, right? Not from the town. Oh, did it? Okay.
What was that one?
Didn't that white telephone box have to have permits?
There's one out there where they put
The
things on.
signboard?
Yeah, that's like a telephone.
Oh.
communication.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't know if they had a permit.
But nevertheless, let's do it right, we'll do it the right way, take the sign down, like I said, it's an outdoor sign, if you have to leave it
Right.
outside, leave it outside. Just hate to have someone take it.
Let them take it
Never
now.
No, you
They're
don't.
gonna take it.
No, that'd be
You
fine.
should put it somewhere where.
They've stolen farm equipment out of the field up here.
Yeah, you never know. I don't know, maybe we can store it behind the building somewhere.
No, I asked Clay if we could store it in the barn.
Yeah, like I said,
Private properties.
It's
Sure,
gonna put
no,
us
no.
behind the salt shed.
There you go.
Yeah.
we'll figure out a place to put it, okay? That's the point. The point is, if we're gonna take it down, let's move on to the, we're gonna take it down, right?
Okay.
You think so?
I feel like you should.
I think we made a motion.
Make every
Rousey made a
So Doug made a motion, we got a second?
I'll
I'm
second
done with my discussion.
I'll second it.
Motion to warn a bylaw change.
Just wait a minute, we got a
Afterwards.
motion.
Oh, I thought you,
Nope. All in favor, take the sign down.
Aye.
Five,
Aye.
No.
5. 4.
You're, after all that discussion, you're saying, no, don't take the sign down.
I'm up for election next year.
He's in the best interest of the town right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Who's gonna take the sign down and where's it going?
Don't know.
I will ask Clay, I'm gonna see him tomorrow.
to be investigated and reported at the next meeting.
Okay.
See, it's staying up.
Is it staying up?
Now,
Well,
Bill,
we
you
don't, we
have,
have to look at it to see.
So we said we gotta take it down, who's taking it down?
we didn't,
Well, first let's have to see how big a deal.
We're going to investigate how to
We're gonna
remedy.
have a field trip
and
at the end.
figure out where it's, you just said you were gonna help them.
I'll help you, I didn't say I wasn't gonna help, I just said I don't want you to take, I'm saying, no, I don't believe we should be taking it.
Okay.
That's not, there's nothing wrong with that, I can have discussion and
Oh,
say
yeah.
what we should do, and I can still vote against it.
Okay, Nancy, what was your question to me?
You just said something about the bylaws or changes or
A
something?
warning, he wants a warning.
You should make a motion now and warn that you intend to change the bylaw regarding signage
On municipal property.
on municipal property.
Does that have
I'm
to
not
be-
comfortable making that motion.
Is
I
that
wanna
okay?
go back to the planning commission and ask them if they would work on changing the bylaws to change that.
We have so
I don't
many
wanna
other
do it.
things to change too.
Yeah,
So it'd be great if we could,
you have a
When
few
were the
things to
bylaws
change.
passed? Like 3
They-
years?
2020.
Before code or during code? right?
That's the last
Keep in
update.
mind, unless it's a quick amendment, keep in mind that that could be 5 years down the road before the planning board makes a decision on it.
Well, maybe if
Especially if
they're,
we add more things to it.
if they're easy,
We
simple
haven't met in
things,
4 months or 5 months, so.
if they're easy, simple things, we could,
So are you willing to not have a sign?
The planning board has not met in 5 months.
Haven't had a meeting.
you sure it's been 5 months?
Oh, it's
No.
been September anyway.
No,
October.
I think there was one.
Yeah, we-
Okay, a different motion.
So they don't,
Request the planning board make,
an amendment. We don't even need to change all the bylaws in this time, we can just throw an amendment in, right?
request directly that the planning board change or amend the signage bylaw.
the section of the signage.
What did they say no?
I have a tough time with this, I thought we were in charge.
We are.
You
I just
request.
want,
Why would
I want
If
to
they
look,
refuse, you go on
December
without it.
18th.
I want to look into
Yeah.
whether we can change it ourselves, or
Right.
if we need to have a public hearing to do that. If we need to have a public hearing to do that, we should do that.
Right, we don't,
But, I mean, we're risking all kinds of no votes. I mean, if we send it back to the planning board, we can
Sure.
do that if you want, but they can say no, then what? Then what are we gonna do with the sign?
So you think the select board should overrule the process of the zoning
The
bylaws?
select board has
Just-
the final, the select board approves all the bylaws.
we're not overruling it, they
You're making
made a
an
decision
amendment.
based on today's bylaws, and that's fine. We're not saying that we're overruling them, what we're saying is in the future, because of this incident, in the future, municipalities should be exempt from these bylaws. I mean, we
Oh, I
should,
thought,
We
okay.
sign and seal the bylaws anyway.
we should be
We're the
able to
final
add an
vote.
amendment that says we should be exempt where our signs go, how large our signs are, whether or not we,
Look, there's a paragraph that talks about
Yeah,
signs,
so you need a
and
motion.
it talks about the size of the sign, and you add a sentence
Yeah.
onto the bottom which
And
says
we should-
municipal signage exempt.
and we might wanna look into if there's other things, I mean, blacktop driveway, we need a,
Yeah,
you know, you need
Exactly.
a permit to put a blacktop driveway in, you know? I'm not saying now we're just repairing it, but what if we want to put blacktop up by the salt shed? Do we need a permit for that? I don't know. I'm just saying, if we
What
did,
if-
if everybody else needs a permit, now we have to get a permit?
but
Come on.
hypothetically, we did end up with a community center someday. Say we bought the Catholic church or something that becomes
Right.
a community center, we wanna do things there. We need to go for a permit for everything. we wanna
Right,
do
and
there.
it's, and we should be able to vote as a board on all those issues. And then the people, it's different than a private entity. If the people don't like what we're doing, they can vote us out.
Mhm.
We should be able as a board say, look, if we wanna buy the church, we vote on it, we buy the church. And we wanna put a sign up that says senior center or community center. Sign should be able to be whatever we want. Now, if people say, we don't like the way you guys are running this, we're voting you out, that's their say. When you're a private resident, you don't get that.
Right.
So in a municipality, it should be up to this board. And I'm not trying to influence anybody on voting either. If you guys don't believe it, you can vote whatever way you want. But when we make a motion to say, okay, let's amend something, I don't think we need to go back to the planning board, and I agree with you. If we go back to the planning board, and they're just gonna think we're going after them, and we're not going after them.
No,
No, I disagree with that.
Well, I don't know how quick an amendment would be.
So
The
how do we
quickest way.
how do we change the bylaws so we can put the sign back up without?
What would be a normal
Oh, I don't know
procedure?
about this.
It would, this idea would go to the planning board, and then they come to us, is that the normal procedure?
We asked for recommendations on bylaws for the planning board.
Okay, yeah.
When they rewrote the bylaws, they recommend, they spent 2 years doing it with VLTC, Jim, whatever. his
Actually,
name is.
BCRC,
What was that?
Sullivan,
I'm
Jim
sorry.
Sullivan.
Jim Sullivan.
Jim Sullivan,
Yeah.
and they spent a long time on these bylaws, and most of it's good, but some of it has flaws.
Yeah, so how
From
do we
there it
add an
goes,
amendment?
from there it goes to a public hearing.
How we legally add an
From there
amendment?
it goes to a public hearing with the bylaws that the planning board creates. Goes to a public hearing, and you go over all the bylaws, and then it goes to the select board to vote it or basically veto it. You can
And then
say
we
you
have
don't
to have a
want
public
this,
hearing
send it back.
too.
And we did vote it with the recommendations of the planning board, I'm gonna tell you, to be honest with you, we voted it because the planning board said this is, we spent 2 years doing it.
Yeah.
Kinda like Dave just said, sign the papers, and we signed them. Did we just signed papers that Dave told us to sign, did we really read them?
So what we,
We put our trust in Dave.
what I think we need to do is get a hold of Vermont League of Cities and Towns again, right? And ask them what the process is as far as changing.
To amend the bylaw.
Do we need to go back
There you
to the
go.
planning board, or can the select board do it, A? And B, does it consist of having a public hearing? We wanna follow all the.
Yeah, you gotta follow it.
Amend the bylaw, how do we amend the bylaws?
How do we amend them? Is it something the select board can do on their own?
I mean, couldn't we just ask the
Makes sense.
planning board, this is what we're dealing with? And
Sure.
we'd like you to do that, and then they can go over it and give it back. All I'm
Right.
saying is I wanna follow the
Right.
procedure all the way. I don't wanna take any
Right,
shortcuts.
because we
Right.
do,
Right,
we're gonna
exactly.
be right back to the circle, we're right back to.
I agree with you. And you gotta get it in writing, no, yes, no.
And then we can.
And in the meantime, we'll think about how we're gonna take the sign down.
Jay's gonna take, I'll put it behind the salt shed.
I'll let you know when I get to it, I got road, I had road at the moment.
On the agenda,
Ground's a little soft to,
Yeah.
chance damaging the front yard.
Yeah, that is true.
be aware too that once the sign comes down, there may be people that are not aware of this issue that have no idea. It's hard to believe that maybe some people in town that have no idea this is going on right now, but when they drive by the school and not see the sign anymore, they're gonna say, what happened to the sign? So you are. You guys ever watch Sesame
Lori,
Street?
just tell them somebody
Watch
stole it.
Sesame Street when we were
Somebody
kids.
actually
There was a
stole it.
sign
It was
on
little
there called
Sheila
"The Hole in the Bucket."
Yeah.
It was a hole in the bucket.
Did you see that? Just a mental, you just painted such a mental picture.
I will get in touch.
I would love to add all the hours up that we spent about the signs. You know, that might be in the top 5 issues we've ever talked about.
I think ATV's heavy beat right now.
Yeah, but
The chicken's crossing the
we'll
road.
get there.
But it was on the dumbest thing.
Okay.
This one, yeah.
Sign extent, I will contact the LCT, how do we amend the zoning bylaws?
Top 5 though, this is top
Can
5.
or do it, send in writing. Okay. Next item, FEMA buyout program. Okay, I gave you guys a new packet. February 26th, I got some information sent to me from the Vermont Emergency Management Fellow, Brian Walters, that he has a few remaining items, the town's signatures needed on the statement of voluntary participation, the model deed restriction, copy of the lister's card, and I think Deb's gonna take the photos now, because he said in the beginning that Deb
Oh,
wasn't
yes, I'm
able to
taking,
take the photos.
yeah, I
Um,
forgot about that.
So attached is what Brian had sent us, and I didn't sign anything because I wanted the new board to look this over. There's a model deed restriction, and he also did send a copy of what Deb and her husband signed of the model deed restriction. There's a lot of reading to do in there, and attached is the property acquisition and relocation for open space that is mentioned in the documents that we should read. So my thought is read it and figure out what we're doing at next meeting. There's a lot of reading there.
I would also recommend doing a lot of the research yourselves on this and educate on all the intricacies of this program. It's not as cut and dry as you might suspect. So
No.
there's an algorithm that goes into even having a property qualify for this program, which many properties which are in the river corridor probably would never qualify for. So I would highly recommend doing a lot of the research because the original, what a lot of people, and this is something I wanted to speak in town meeting, but what came to light at town meeting is not necessarily what this program is all about.
somewhere I read, and I don't know where I read it, that since Hurricane Irene, there's been 176 properties taken.
I thought it was 117, yeah.
117?
Yeah.
The whole
And
state
that's in the
statewide.
whole state, and that's 12 years?
And it's not FEMA that approaches the homeowners either, or the property owners. This is a long, long process that even they can back out at the last minute. It requires a lot of documentation of events.
I would just say, keep in mind, that there, just imagine that there's never a situation in town where this might apply. What do you think there is or isn't? Right? Then, just like we said before, if you say yes to one, you have to say yes to all. Well, the opposite is true. Right? If you say no to one, you should probably say no to all. So there is, upon hours and hours of research on my own time, and this is basically my own opinion, I found in the 100-year floodplain, there's basically 4 structures in town within the floodway. The river corridor has a lot of houses in it. Not like that, so not all these houses would qualify. For my opinion, there's maybe 5 other structures that could be under some level of consideration from FEMA, whether they would agree on those houses or not. So that basically puts us down at about 9 structures, in my opinion, that I think would be probably in the conversation for this program. One of those structures being the town garage, so that's not a private property. Another one of those structures being a house that caught on fire and is probably gonna be abandoned, and the town's gonna have to do something with it ultimately. Or it's just gonna sit there as an abandoned property. So that leaves about 7 other structures, 4 of which are probably no-brainers out of that are in the floodway. Out of that 4, there's, I'm not gonna say any specific properties, people can do their own research, but out of the 4 in the floodway, just from knowing the families, I guarantee 3 of them voted against this program. Alright, so out of the other houses, there's one that's less than 20 years old, so I doubt they're gonna wanna participate. There's one that just had major remodeling done to it, so I doubt they're gonna wanna participate. So, town-wide, we're really looking at the reality of it, and this isn't something that is gonna happen overnight, like, holy cow, 15 houses just went off the tax rolls, and now this is put on the burden of the taxpayers. This is something that's gonna progress over years and years of time. So there's maybe 2, for my opinion, once again, there's maybe 2 or 3 residents max that would even be able to participate in this program or willing to participate. It's a voluntary program, so you don't have to give your house up by any means. And in a sense, we already voted for this in a binding way when we wrote the flood hazard regulations. It states right in the purpose that we are gonna allow our residents to be, have available to them federal relief. This is federal relief, we're already paying taxes on this. It's part of your federal taxes. It goes to FEMA, and they generate programs like this for flood relief. I'm just saying, it's a very deep subject, deeper than some people just cast their vote on the other night. I mean, there's way too much information out there to absorb, to just put it to a vote on the floor where people don't really have all the information about this program. You know, and through climate resiliency, we really need to start thinking about these things in a certain way, you know? I hate the fact that, it may increase people's taxes some too, but we're talking, the situation, in my opinion, has kind of really been blown way, way out of proportion. Like, even if, say 10 houses went to this program, I mean, what are we looking at on someone's individual tax payment if hypothetically 10 houses were to jump into this program? 60, 70 bucks, something like that. I just want to put everything in perspective, it's kind of been like blown right up, and there's not a lot of information out there. And, with a town that does have certain houses sitting on the brink of disaster, I just think it's something that we should really, really consider and not like rush into a vote on it. I know we're already kicked it forward. It's a tough decision, and I'll be the first one to say it's a crappy situation that has been put on, small town boards like this that don't have a lot of knowledge on these situations. But
Where do you think, when you did your assessment, like you said, it's an opinion, you know,
Yeah.
you're not FEMA by any means.
No, it's an opinion.
Where do you think, and I know that I've argued in the past with people, this number 40 came from?
Yep.
Where do you think, why did that come off?
So that came from the original study on a map that was drawn out whenever we originally did the flood hazard, bylaws. I would say maybe 2010, something like that.
All the possibilities of all.
It's on one of
Well, I
those.
understand.
Because FEMA creates the map,
Right,
and they decide, you know, what,
but you disagree that those are even possibilities now?
I don't think I still would like to get some more concrete, definite answer that they're only looking into the floodway. Now, I think when we had our last Zoom meeting, she basically said they're only considering houses in the 100-year floodway. That would basically be 4 structures. When you look at Vermont A&R right now, the map is up to date. It's about 3 or 4 years behind. So the river meanders, changes courses over time. So, I mean, you can argue the amount of houses that might be in that 100-year flood area. All the rest of the houses are either in the wetlands, what we used to call wetlands, they now call flood hazard areas.
When
Or
the river
along the
changes,
river course.
can this possibly down the road, 20 years from now, can that add houses to it?
They could.
You know, I mean, could or could not, either way, okay? The number 40 came up because other people mentioned it. I didn't bring that number up.
It's in the town, the number's in the town plan.
When I see that number 40, instead of saying $60 now,
Hmm.
I see 200 or something
Right.
dollars, okay, added to your tax. And throughout the years, that goes up, okay? And I'm not saying that people don't have issues, I believe there's issues. And I do agree with the vote the other night, 99% of people that voted on it don't understand it, because we're still learning.
Mhm.
We've been talking about it all the time. The other thing I did see, just come up recently is there's other programs that are available now. to Save the homes.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that, all of them are eligible for that, but I'd rather see that than demolition, you know? But they were talking about, you know, actually
Elevation.
elevation
Elevation.
and mitigation of the roof.
So where Stanford suffers from the elevation problem, right? When you elevate a house, you're basically building in a wetland area. It's hard to elevate along a river corridor. River corridors consist more of what we call fluvial erosion. That's erosion that keeps kicking into the bank and it
So why
rots
would
the
they
soil.
offer it in these homes that are in these
Because
situations?
it makes sense for flood hazard areas, what used to be wetlands. There's certain houses around town that did this, they elevated up without.
Right, but the river's not going right through the
But the
house.
river's not there, it's more of a floodplain area
Okay.
that floods out
Kind of
period.
like a field up here.
Whereas opposed to you're right on the riverbank, then you're dealing with fluvial erosion. Which
And
is
we're not-
basically the erosion of the bank over
What about
time.
when they talk about actually fixing the river? They talk about
That's
that, too.
basically lost language and the art of, and, you know,
That was in
flood
the
hazard
same paperwork.
mitigation. They're
Yeah.
really trying to, I mean, this is just a push from the
They-
state. They're
they-
really trying to
yeah.
renaturalize these areas rather than have any kind of man-made structures or anything like that within.
Except for heavily dense,
They want.
That's
Dense
the
population.
Right,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't
Yeah.
just go over, and say, look at 20 years ago, the river was over here, and now that we've had a hurricane, the river.
The river corridors
They
can,
won't just go over and bring it over here, back over here.
it's so many feet on the crest of the embankment.
yeah, Mike,
What the
and
river
also,
corridor is.
one thing that I found out, I've done hundreds of hours of research and I'm not, trust me, I'm not trying to influence, I'm just trying to tell you what I have learned. In our situation, if we were to now shore up the way the river if you come down Main Road, you can see it. I couldn't even get a permit to even put riprap in there now because it will create now a barrier which could potentially go into Clough Road. Because no longer does it curve. It has come and done this. So if you stop it here, it could back up even further and change the path further into Clough Road. And that's the problem, that's why they don't want people messing with the river, because while it may protect you, you may be creating something else. If we backed up, if we did this on our property, it very well could then channel more erosion towards the Dargies and hasten the river path that way. So they're just not allowing you to go in, and that's why these programs were created.
It was my understanding when I read that, other programs, that FEMA would come down and they would come up with a plan. Not just say to you, okay,
The other
here,
one, the other one.
here's your tunnel, go out and dig in the
I'm
river.
not a fan of all of the raising, elevating.
Right.
Because there's like a 25% match with the town.
There is.
This program has no match.
Right.
And there was very other stipulations to it, and if you think this is a lot of paperwork, I mean, I looked at some of that, and there was mounds and mounds of paperwork. Plus, I just don't think it's an ideal thing for Stanford, we shouldn't be filling wetlands anyways. This
And
is
they're
a
gonna
lost
be
thing.
looking at each individual property if they can raise it up.
They're gonna try to mitigate it as best as
I'm
possible.
fundamentally against raising the properties in wetlands. It's just, I don't think it's something we should do. We've already lost more than 50% of the wetlands in this country. I don't think we should be losing much more. There's other places in town that we can develop. This really needs to be a bigger conversation, even with the planning board, on how do we move forward, maintain the tax base of areas that we can develop on higher ground. There's still land out there. I mean, there's a lot of land out there. We talked about ancient roads earlier. One of the ways we probably maybe shouldn't have got rid of, and it was probably all grown in anyway and they're hard to maintain, but there was an old road from Forget over to Basin. Very flat, elevated land, a lot of space up in there, right? There's still space around. And none of this is gonna like happen overnight, right? Like all of a sudden we're like, okay, we approved this FEMA thing and 15 houses are coming off the tax roll. This is something that may progress over time, 50 years or more, with how you restructure your town, how you redevelop in a more, sustainable way that makes sense.
So, just like we were talking about with the signs, I like to do what's for the best of the town.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a personal thing for me at all.
Mhm.
So my last question to you would be, because you seem like you know a little bit more than I do, is, what benefit, I don't wanna, just what benefit if we allow this, and say just 2 houses come on? Say it's not an expense, big expense to the town, but what benefit does this do for the town?
Well, if the house is really vulnerable to ending up in the stream, we save a lot of pollution that could end up in the river. The house may become abandoned, someone decides the house is unlivable, they don't live there anymore, not gonna pay taxes on it anyway. So we're dealing with a bunch of abandoned properties in town. All of these are positive, but they're definitely negatives. Raw sewage going into the river, these are things of the past. A property where we did decide that we're gonna buy it back on tax sale and the town owns it anyway. And
Well, I
then
did
that's
look
why we
into
do
that, I know we don't have to do
Right.
that.
But then if it's a.
And I
No, I'm
hate using
just-
Deb for an
That's okay.
example, because you're in a real tough situation.
Yeah,
Because you're given the information and you have a piece of property that is through the
But
program.
you know what, I've been doing this
So people are looking
so,
and say, well, you're given the information, you're gonna be biased, and I don't
that's
believe
why I'm
that.
asking, I'm happy to give the information.
Right. Yeah,
But just like you always say, Mike, you're only one person, I'm only one person.
Right.
I've done the research because I am affected,
Sure.
absolutely.
Makes sense.
One thing, I'm looking into so many different alternatives to keep the structures on the tax roll. Somebody approached me and said, my God, the shop was only built 2008. Would you consider, would the town, because it would be the towns at that point, would you donate it and let somebody haul it off? Put it on their property, it's gotta stay in town. There you go. That would be the shop, that would be the easiest one to move. Can't imagine moving the house, but this same person said, oh yeah, we just moved a house down there. Well, around town, it's hard to move a house, going up and down, but these are considerations. These are huge considerations, keep it on the tax roll. Trouts Unlimited has an interest. So it would not become the town's responsibility. Trouts Unlimited would come in and turn this into
how can that happen if?
I'd
like to work with you.
Yeah.
First of all, I gotta count on myself that I'm not at home, I'll mess it up.
You know, and that, you hear it one way and I hear it another
Right.
way, and then by the
Things
time
great
I
as something.
tell you guys, or you tell me.
I like it too, if you ask a question, it might be a question I didn't think of.
Right.
So we get more questions asked.
Somewhere I read in here that they
Do you
have.
get the sense at all that FEMA is sort of like, on the one hand, they are a government program that they need to justify their existence, so they're like an insurance company where they sell you the insurance policy, or they put themselves out there as being, you get sick, you get injured, you're fine, but then when you actually go to collect, there is so much more fine print like you're
That's
describing, so much more whatever.
Yeah.
And people, you know, the emotion around the idea of our taxes going up is scary. I mean, everybody has this consideration, and that does have to do with the,
If
With
I
the-
could
with
talk
the
to
good of the
FEMA,
town.
I mean, the
but the
actual
reality,
people.
I just wonder if like, the reality of people actually being able to accomplish this is something to discern with a fine tooth comb. And we also have to consider that the town, the good of the town, also consists of each person in the town.
Sure.
And them being able to avail themselves of, you know, I cannot see free money, like, being distributed all over the place for FEMA to just let everybody relocate to Florida or wherever they want to go. So I just, you know, I feel like that right of people is also something. And of course, yes, taxes should not go up and shouldn't, but I feel like it got to an emotional place that was emotional rather than,
If FEMA, this federal government that we pay taxes into, really wanted to do it right, they would take care of the individual and the municipality. So you go,
Agreed.
say, let's just say, in the next 100 years, we're gonna take this much taxes in.
agreed.
Here you go, instead of sending money over to who knows.
Oh,
where.
yeah.
Oh,
Really
you
not.
don't
That's-
get,
That's a whole,
I,
don't
yeah.
even,
Yeah, I
I
So
agree
now,
with
if
you.
I had my way,
I
I'm
agree
gonna
with
tell them that, hey,
I agree
how about
with
that 80 billion coming back to this?
Yeah.
country?
I
I
agree
think it's
with
an
you.
awful decision to put on the five of us that make like, 75 cents an hour or whatever it is that we make.
Right.
We all have day job.
You got a raise?
It's just a, it's a
I
complicated.
forgot to bring that up at town meeting, the raises for the select board.
Damn.
Like you said too, in the beginning, they said, no, Max, the town doesn't have to do anything, it's very simple process. That was the first paper that I read on it. Well, now they're sending more of the model deed you have to do and the other stuff you have
We
to
can
sign.
reach
it.
out.
They're not
I did
gonna
read
make it
somewhere
easy.
too
No,
that
there's a lot of paperwork.
If we're going through this process, I did read somewhere where you can reach out to the regional commission and they can help you with the paperwork. It's part of the $4,000 that we give them every year. So if we were to proceed with this process, we could reach out to, the regional commission and they, at some level, will help us with the paperwork.
The place to go on buyout questions, Vermont Emergency Management, go into,
So I think they see the flaws in the program because when they sent this email out about elevating properties, they addressed the fact that we realize that we're cutting into the tax base.
But then they throw 25% match on it, why don't you do that for free
What's the
too?
25%
Yeah,
match of 250,000? And
Right,
then we
that's
want to
what I'm
lose
saying, you know.
15 structures.
Right, you know.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so what's that, $50,000?
It's crap. I mean, if they want a part of it, they should just take it all. You know, go ahead and take it, take the whole responsibility of it.
Exactly. Right, I mean, what's next?
so, what am I doing?
Exaggerated.
Oh, read it over, we'll figure out what, if we wanna sign these forms, that have to go back to Brian Walters. There's, yeah, you do, it's in their paper clip. Paper clip, yeah. Yeah, that's what he sent to me with his cover letter. Oh, that's cover letter.
Yeah, one's filled in and then one's blank.
Yeah, I think I did one.
He's pretty good if you guys have any questions individually, he's pretty good if you just call him. Send him an email, say, can I give you a call?
Yeah,
And
he said
he'll-
Deb's copy.
I'll give you his number.
Ask.
Yeah, ask, and it doesn't have to be all at once, like if you have a question, you're thinking of something,
Part 80.
Save me a headache.
Yes, it does give you a headache. Okay, correspondence, Lori.
All right.
Signed deed transferring lot 270.
So months and months and months ago, these people paid to purchase a lot in, Alphaville, lot 270. They've, reviewed the paperwork, decided everything looks good, and paid the rest of the fees, so now it's, time to sign the deed. So if Nancy wants to sign it as chair, and then I'll need 2 witnesses.
Okay, motion to sign it.
The motion, second, is it a motion, second?
I don't know, someone better second it.
Well, we made a motion to, sell it, right,
Oh,
back in June.
Yeah, it's done.
So it
Yeah.
doesn't
I
have
was
to be
gonna say, I'm
July,
signing
it doesn't
it,
have to
so
be a year?
It is just a paper copy.
Yeah.
The property we have already owned for.
Oh,
a
you
while.
guys own it,
Move it out.
okay, never mind.
Did we lose something? Oh, that's.
Move it on.
Oh, the whole thing is. Did you get a second?
We'll talk first, sorry.
Kurt said.
Can I keep this paper clip?
No.
If you put it through your ear.
That might be an archival paper for the,
Give it to people in the crowd.
it might be an archival paper
Oh,
for.
could be. Yeah.
From the Barbie
This
movie?
is funny, there isn't one of these. Mary Lou gave me a couple of pencils, but I couldn't find it.
Oh, no. That went to Vaughn? Yeah. He's building a house up there and in Albemarle and.
We'll get more taxes.
But I don't think it's in our section, is it? Or is it?
No, he's in Waysboro, but
Yeah,
it's
he's
still.
building.
But that's his
still
property
with
there,
us.
right?
But this one, he might do something with it too.
See, you lose over here, you
So
gain.
we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 properties.
Still for sale?
Are they part of that alcohol
Yep.
thing? So you have to pay the fees and everything associated with alcohol?
300 and something, about $1 a now.
Per acre or per lot you have,
Right?
yeah.
So if he buys this lot, it's 2 lots.
right, so the
And
next,
pay both fees,
yes.
you
Did,
know what I mean?
did O'Neill ever come through with his deed, the one, John Shaw's old place? Is that, okay, where did he go?